All right. We are back live for episode 11 of the Barren Lands. We are joined by William playing Valenthi, Bailey playing Faline, Wolfram playing Booker, and Waz playing Hector. Unfortunately, we have a couple players out tonight, but that is okay. We're going to continue onward. A few notes before we get started. Give us a thumbs up and a subscribe if you like watching this kind of stuff. This is episode 11. It is titled As the Clock Ticks. We are entering the second arc of the campaigns. Very, very excited about this. I would like to remind the players to unmute the tracks button at the top left-hand side of your Owlbear Rodeo controllers if you'd like to hear the music I have queued up for the session. And with that being said, we're actually going to start off with a cutscene. Going to start off with a bang here. But I have to find this slightly. Here we go. Whoop. It's not quite the right music. It's this music here. The thundering of black hooves kicking dirt is the only sound that can be heard as this white horse just charges through the mud, riding up to a graveyard. In the graveyard, we see many clerics working amongst the graves, and we see a handful of what look like shambling corpses walking around the perimeter of this graveyard. This graveyard is made up of a stone church, sort of offset to the left, and then there's a stone fence, stands about a little more than waist high. Around it shamble these corpses that look like they have been dead for a long time, but they have been unnaturally preserved. Within the graveyard itself, there are probably 50 graves, and at the moment there are 4 clerics working on one particular casket. They are chanting. They are pouring some alchemical components down into the casket. But standing off to the side, the focus of this vision is actually a very much younger Hector. Hector as a young man observing the clerics at work in the cemetery. Off to the side, you can hear the roaring of a river, and this river has a very ethereal type sound to it as the white rapids crash against the rocks, and if one stares for too long, they might almost find themselves like sucked into it with their consciousness. And as Hector stands and watches these clerics work, he becomes aware, Hector. Now, at this point, you'll come into the scene playing this visage of your older self in this memory. You hear this thundering of hooves behind you, and then you hear the whinnying of a horse and somebody dismounting from it. But for some reason, in this memory, your character wouldn't turn around, but instead would hear these footsteps, and then the horse's footsteps approaching from behind. And he would hear this voice, and the moment he hears the voice, he realizes this voice doesn't belong in this memory, because Hector remembers this, but he does not remember this being a part of the memory. And the voice says to him, "So you serve it, not him. That's what it is." And then a figure walks into Hector's view, leading a great white horse. This figure is cloaked in dark robes. Hector instantly recognizes this figure as Skidir. Hector has spoken to this person in the Barren Lands, but what is Skidir doing in this memory? And for that reason, why is Hector in this memory right now? But anyway, how would you like to respond to Skidir's question?
Yeah. What was it again? Sorry, I got caught up.
Oh, no, it's okay. The question was, So, you worship it, not a deity.
As young Hector or as...
Well, you're standing there as young Hector, but you have all of the knowledge of present day Hector.
Is that what it is? I just couldn't put my finger on it. At this stage, everything felt right and wrong. The only... I just couldn't get my head around was the greed of individuals.
Yeah, but come on. Greed and greed goes hand in hand with life. What you worship is not something to worship. And then it kind of turns and looks towards you. The horse whinnies nervously. You look at this horse, see its dark, jet black eyes, its glorious black mane with its white fur, and there's something very strange about the horse that Skiddir is leading around and that he rode here. But then Skiddir would say, this is not something to be worshipped. This is a primordial force. You're a madman.
Maybe. And he walks forward, one hand outreached towards the horse, just in a gentle, soothing manner.
Is he going to touch the horse? Would you like pet it?
Yes, yeah, he would like to.
So as Hector pets the horse, he senses this horse's like incredible energy and spirit. And the horse looks at Hector. Hector realizes he's looking at a very intelligent creature. And the horse kind of regards you with a sort of guarded curiosity. And then Skiddir says, this is Aklios, my mount. I use it to traverse. Oh, go ahead.
This is Aklios, your friend.
This is my mount. This is the creature that helps me traverse the dimensions of life and death and all the others. But you see, you and I could do a lot together. So here's my offer. And then he would extend the reins towards you. I will loan you Aklios if you will give me one thing. I'm not going to ask you to give up your insane worship of this primordial force that you revere, but I am going to ask you for something significant because, well, I have my own reasons, but you can deliver. And then he would kind of look at you. You can't really see him under the dark veil, but you could tell he's looking at you, and he would say, would you like to hear the deal?
Yes, I think I would. I can always refuse a deal. I have not agreed to anything but other than listening to this deal.
As you stand there talking to him, you hear the sounds of the shovels starting to cover the grave in the background as the clerics are finally putting the casket in the ground. And then he would say, send me one soul who's come from beyond. You know of what I speak. Souls not of this world. Swear to send me one within the next 7 days, and I will loan you Aklios for as long as you remain in this world.
This is a big deal. I think I need time to think. I do not wish to rush this decision. Give me until midnight tomorrow.
The figure nods, and then he's going to hold out the reins to you and say, then for the time being, why don't you get acquainted? You're going to see what you're not going to want to lose. I think we're going to become good friends. And then he would hold out the reins and offer them to you. He says, just as a loan until you make your decision.
As a loan? Yes. I can abide by this deal we have made now.
Are you going to accept the reins?
And I'll take the reins.
So when you take the reins, suddenly there's this whinnying. The horse bucks its head back and it rears up, and you see its hooves rise into the air. And then suddenly the scene is replaced by the biting wind blowing into Hector's face as he's standing outside the cave, walking south. Beside him, he hears Lotto say, "Hector, are you okay?" And then he kind of taps you on the shoulder. And you realize you may have been out of it for a moment or something.
Something good this way comes, I believe. Let us continue our journey. Won't be too far away.
Now, where we were last time, Kelf had ridden ahead a bit on Eos, and then Luminode was with him. And then Hector and Lotto were taking up sort of like a slower pace, but headed that way. And then I believe, if I'm not mistaken, everyone else was still back at the cave at the ending of the last session. Does that sound right to everybody? Does that sound accurate?
Thalian ran ahead to catch up with Hector and Lotto.
Okay, so you're actually with them. Okay.
Yeah, Booker had also left to follow them, I think.
Okay, so Valenthi actually was left back. Broden is back at the cave, but okay. Very good, okay. So let's switch to Booker and Bailey real quick. You guys were walking along, and as you kind of catch up to Lotto and as you catch up to Lotto and Hector, you kind of realize Hector kind of stops walking and kind of stands still for a minute. Kind of stands there for like 30 seconds. You eventually see Lotto kind of tap him, and then he kind of comes back to, and then you guys catch up to them. So now you're all together.
Thalian would look at Hector and be like, "What do you think you were doing? Were you really going to leave us in that cave?"
If you're dealing with the Fae, then yes.
What is your problem with Fae? They're just like foxes. Keep them away from the chickens and throw them a rat, and they're fine.
No, not these ones. The Fae, they are the trickster gods. They are the ones that take the babies in the night. They are the ones you do not want to make deals with.
Well, I'm a little more skeptical about the stories around the Fae. They don't really have a big presence from. However, I do understand the lack of trust was that our Fae friend back there. But anyway, let's hope we can find a proper cure, so we don't have to keep depending on our Fae friend.
I think Faline would have an expression on her face. I don't know what, Hector's insight or care level is, but I think her face would demonstrate it's more about that there's like some genuine hurt that he would just leave without another word. And I think that's what she would come back to is like, well, I just thought, we would stick together and you wouldn't just go off just because you didn't like something just like that. And that's it.
I said what I needed to say inside the cave. I was quite clear that that I was leaving. I thought you were all fools even talking to that creature in there, let alone making deals with it. We had time. We could have worked something out. We are not a stupid group of people.
I agree. I think we could have worked something out either with the Fae or by ourselves. I don't like how it happened, but I just am surprised. That is all.
Well,
Now,
I
as you
did
guys
warn
are,
them.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, that was it.
Well, as you guys are talking, Kerrigan kind of walks up beside you, and then she says, "I kind of think I should go back. I think I should stay with Valenthi." Well, she says this in Orc. So I guess Booker, unless I can't remember if Faline or Hector, if you speak Orc, but Booker definitely does.
No.
No.
So Booker, you're the only one who hears this, and she says to you, "Maybe I should stay back. Maybe I should go back and stay with Valenthi."
Well, at least I believe Rodin did volunteer to stay on lookout. You're free to stay, though. You gave just a few minutes ago. You gave me the impression that you wanted to come with and make sure we find the cure.
Yeah, but now I'm feeling guilty about it. Now I feel like she shouldn't be left alone. I mean, I guess Broden is still there, but I mean, they don't really know each other very well. Broden just showed up like a couple hours ago.
Like myself. Anyway, if that would bring you more peace, then sure, stay back. I'll do whatever I can to find a cure, and I'm sure your other friends here will do so as well.
So you guys all hear Booker and Kerrigan like chatting back and forth in Orc.
Faline's nosy, so she puts her hands on her hips and she's like, "What is she saying? What is going on?"
Booker will shake his head a little with a small smile and say, "Oh, well, that was rude of me." What she means is that she feels bad about leaving Valenthi behind. She's tempted to stay back with her friend. She doesn't want to leave her alone. I know Brody will stay back, but well, he is a stranger to her as I am to I guess.
DM, I forget. Does Kerrigan know where the fort is? Like she
said that she knows roughly where it is, but she's never been there before. She has seen it from a distance, though.
Okay.
So as far as leading you there, she could lead you right there.
Yeah, I feel like we would have talked about that amongst ourselves at a certain point. I assume the group would agree with that. So Faline would say something to the effect of like, she can't go back to the cave. She's the only one who's from here.
You do make a good point. Let me translate. And he translates. Says, well, we might need your company at least for part of the journey.
She's going to seem to think about it for a moment, and then she's going to kind of nod her head. And then she reaches back and takes her mask and puts it on. And then she's like, all right, then we should make it fast. And then she kind of takes off running, kind of picking up the pace a bit. You all see her kind of start to, she doesn't like sprint. It's just like she breaks into like a healthy, like fast walk, slow jog, and starts moving south through the snow.
Booker's still naked.
He has the cloak Broden gave him, so
Okay.
almost.
Almost.
He's keeping himself warm with prestidigitation, warming up the cloak.
Okay, so his cloak, he has a cloak on, but it's not like he doesn't have full cold weather gear. I don't think. What does that sound accurate?
Yep.
Yeah. So Booker, you're starting to definitely feel the cold, and the prestidigitation would keep you warm a bit, but it would probably get to be a little exhausting constantly using it, to warm himself.
Yeah, he's probably going to get tired, but at least probably enough to avoid the frostbite. I hope.
She can look back at the group and to Hector and Lotto, and if you're going to follow her, you can go ahead and I can catch up and cast Longstrider on Hector.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Hector will turn and say, "You, Luna,
she
take
looks
your
up.
give your clothes to the orc, and you go in and keep Valenti company."
Are you sure? I mean, okay, but are you sure you're not going to need my help?
You'll be more helping Valenti stay alive.
Okay, I'll do that. And then she just starts to take off her clothes. And you guys notice that she relatively shamelessly just takes off all her clothes and hands them to Booker. And I mean, and everyone roll an insight check really quick.
Where's my sheet?
That's 22.
Okay.
17.
Okay. Yeah, both of you.
Yeah, not good.
Oh, what was yours?
4.
Oh, so now this just seems, you're just thinking to yourself, oh God, like this girl just took her clothes off and handed me her clothes. And you notice that she is just has no clothes on. And so Booker, I mean, he's just like, oh, wow, whatever Booker would think about that without any extraneous information. But Faylene and Hector, you would definitely notice that this is a bit of a, like the way she's acting is sort of like, not one who's been like socially adjusted very she doesn't seem to be making any distinction between clothed or unclothed beyond how cold it is, so it's just another clue that she seems to have some strange social or maybe lack of social understanding about the situation. But anyway, so she hands the clothes to Booker, and then she just kind of rubs her hands on her arms as if like it's cold, and then she turns around and just sprints into the cave.
Hector telepathically tells her, "When we come back, if one hair on Valenti's head is hurt, I blame you."
She's gonna say, at this point, can they speak back to you telepathically? Can they respond? No. Okay. She would just shout back then, echoing out of the cave, "Don't worry, I'll keep her safe." That's what you hear. She runs back inside. And then I take it you guys are just going to head south, basically, following the big hoof prints left by Soul's horse, who rode on ahead a bit.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Booker will just like awkwardly put on the clothes that are probably a little too small for him.
Well, actually, how tall is Booker?
Over 6 feet tall.
Oh, they would be a little bit small on him, but that's okay. Maybe they ride a little high in the heels, like the bottoms of the pants, but they would definitely keep him warm. Okay, now with that being said, we're going to switch scenes. We're going to go back into the cave. Now, Valenti, you were by the fire, and Broden was there, but then not 5 minutes after everyone left, suddenly there's this snap of energy and this bright flashing of like rainbow colored light, and then Broden just vanishes. And you recognize this, like you've seen this happen a couple times now. And then you hear some footsteps come running in, and you see a naked Luna come running in, and she runs up to the fire and proceeds to warm herself over the fire. What would you like to do?
Valancius stares confused.
And then Luna looks at you and goes, "Oh, they told me to stay here and protect you. And I gave my cold weather clothes to Booker, that big green guy, that orc guy, that weird looking orc, the one who doesn't look like a real orc."
She looks over. Oh, that's strange. You had to give all your clothes. You have nothing under.
Oh no, I was just wearing the big winter clothes. If you have some extras, I'd take them though, because I don't want to be cold again.
I suppose we're going to have to figure that one out. They sent you back on me. Why was that?
I don't know. This is what Hector said. And then she kind of looks at you and says, "He said if there was a hair in your body harmed, he was going to blame me. So I have to keep you safe. I guess it's my job."
His tact is quite crude sometimes, I suppose, but maybe he means well somewhere in that soul of his.
She's going to say, "Tact?"
Says, well, he seems to be very aggressive in his ideas. Very staunch on it.
She kind of nods in a way that suggests that she's nodding, like acting like she understands, but that she doesn't really know what you're talking about.
And Valancy just stands and she just looks about, studying the cave. And I suppose if we're going to be here for some time, we should at least figure out what this whole entire area is about.
You hear kind of a giggle come from down the tunnel, and then you kind of see Tika poke her head out. And then she say, "You should come on in. You can come see my inner sanctum, like the place where I live."
Valancio stares and says, all right. And she looks back at Luna. You stay warm, Luna. I'll be right back.
Luna would just nod and stay crouched over the fire.
Valancy will follow carefully, keeping an eye on things.
Yeah, so Tika would just kind of start to kind of like skip down the tunnel, basically. And they would get, if Valenthi continues to follow her, she would get to this, basically, there's like a big drop off at this point where Tika is, and it's actually 20 feet down, but you just kind of see her kind of jump off the edge, and she just lands on the ground without really much trouble. She seems to kind of float down. But
I'm going to follow and also keep an eye for the, I think it was dagger or blade that Faylene had mentioned to me.
Did Faylene, did you end up taking that dagger, or did you end up leaving it?
She took the dagger. She told, after Faylene had grabbed the dagger, Tika said something, "I have a magic thing. It's little. It's made of white stone."
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and so she told that to
Okay,
to
gotcha.
Valenthi, is that there's something that Tika has.
That's right. Tika says, "Come on down here. Just jump."
Valancy looks over. I'm afraid I don't have the same powers as you do. If I were to jump, I would probably die. Or at least hurt myself very much.
Well, at this rate, you're gonna die anyway if someone doesn't agree to keep me company. You're not gonna last a whole lot longer with that sickness. I mean, maybe 8 or 9 days, so I wouldn't be too worried. If you get hurt, you'll just get healed from that too.
I'd rather not take my chances. Besides, if I were to kill myself by jumping off, you wouldn't have any friends left.
Oh, I guess that's true.
Valencia will try to crawl down.
Okay, yeah. Just roll either athletics or acrobatics, whichever is better. It's pretty easy climb, like a 12 DC.
Let's see what happens. All right, so athletics or acrobatics. Let's go with acrobats. Let's have a little bit better on that one. $16.
Oh yeah, she climbs down there very easily. And then my screen just went white for a minute. I don't know what's going on.
A white screen of death.
We're back. I hope not. Hopefully it's just a white screen of interruption. Okay, so you land on the ground, climb down very well, and then you instantly see this skeleton laying on the rocks. Looks like it has a broken leg. All the clothes rotted off of it. It did seem to maybe at one point have some leather armor on, which has long since rotted away. And it's just old, like basically turned to dust. But it's got a bunch of kind of like moss growing on it because it's actually very moist. Like the air here is very moist and humid.
I ask, so did this one jump off?
Oh, he sure did. He didn't make it. We still talked for a long time. He lived for a long time with his injuries, but not forever. And then she just kind of keeps walking. And then you see her get to the edge here, and she just kind of like jumps off, and you hear kind of some bushes rustling, and you hear some rocks kind of fall down, and she just disappears from view. And then you go look down, and you see that there's a ledge about 10 feet down, and then about 15 feet below that, you see the floor of this large cavern, and there's a pool in the middle, and you see steam rising up out of the pool. But you see that the floor of the pool is glittering with a lot of like what looks like kind of silver glitter. Like you're not sure what's causing it. There's like some kind of light source, and it actually shines these kind of lights around the cavern, almost like a disco ball effect, but very, very minor, like very little. It's like very, very faint moonlight in the whole cavern.
I guess if there's a path, I will try to follow the path down there.
There is kind of a crude path, but you'd need to roll another either acrobatics or athletics check. And then this is only a DC 10 because there is kind of a path you could walk down. It's just kind of a bit of a treacherous one.
Hit 13.
13? Oh, yeah. You see you can make it down just fine. So, are you going to go all the way down to the floor level where she's at?
I'm keeping watch though, if making sure it's like nothing too crazy going to happen. But yeah, that's my attempt to.
So once you get down there, she just kind of dances around you. She kind of like does a little skip around you, and then she just kind of starts jumping and hopping kind of around the pool. And then she's like, "This is where I live, isn't it awesome?"
And yes, it was very mysterious. And what basically she's just looking as far as I think I had sent you like patterns that Tika might do, like maybe something that she touches, what she ignores, what makes her emotions kind of click. And so that's what Valanci's currently doing. She's pretty much observing everything.
Gotcha. All right. Very good. Very good. So let's take a jump back to the. Let's take a jump back to the others real quick, and I'm actually gonna grab these. We're gonna go to a different scene. See if I can do this without losing the. We go this Owlbear Rodeo stuff here. Can I select them? Yes. Heck yeah. All right, we're gonna switch scenes real quick. Go to this one. Now, this scene might look familiar to you guys, but do not think it looks familiar to your characters because it is actually different. It's different, wink, wink. You haven't been here before. This is further south than you've been. All right, so you guys are walking south, and then you've been basically walking for it's been about 20 minutes when you hear this kind of neighing coming from up ahead. And when you get a little closer, you realize that you see Eos kind of trotting back towards you and Luminode kind of running behind Eos, barely able to keep up. I mean, Eos is just trotting at a casual pace. And you see that Luminode is just like trying to run full blast to keep up with Eos, and Soul is nowhere to be seen.
Is Eos look panicked or just trotting? And
Eos looks actually like just trotting. Roll me a handle animal check. Actually, either handle animal or insight, whichever one is higher for failing.
That is a 13.
No, Eos does not look alarmed. In fact, if anything, Eos looks happy to see you guys and is trotting up to you. Like as soon as he notices you, kind of starts trotting up to you.
Yeah, she'll hold out a hand and give him a nicker to come over and offer the palm of her hand out to him.
Yeah, no, he would run up to Faylene and go to kind of sniff her hand and then kind of push it with his nose. And he seems to be trying to communicate something. And then he kind of shakes his head and he turns around kind of back toward where he had come from and then kind of rears back on his hind feet and then turns back around and pushes your arm again.
She'll just kind of keep putting her hand to him. What is it? Come on, what is it, boy?
And then
where's Soul?
Luminode comes running up and then makes some little squeaking sounds some little kind of robotic sounds, and then he motions with his hands too. Which, does anyone currently speak sign language or no?
I do. Okay,
so you hear him say, or you see him say, Soul just vanished in bright light right off of Eos's back.
Faylene sighs and goes, well, seems our friend has been taken up into the sky again.
Again?
Yeah, it happens every so often. The light comes back. One of us disappears. A day or two later, bang, they're back. This bit I have not worked out at all. Why this bit is happening in particular.
Faylene looks at Booker and goes, it does not feel very good. It's just darkness, and there's no time. It's horrible.
Oh, right. Well, that is worrisome.
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
He would ask, so when that happens, does one return Where were they taken from, or did they appear somewhere else?
When I came back, I appeared right back with the group. Wherever they had gone. It was far from where I had been taken.
Well, in that case, let's hope that rule keeps applying.
Now, at this point, everyone roll me a quick perception check. When I say everyone, I mean Faylene, Waz, and Booker.
14?
10.
Hang on. Getting there. Too many screens open. Yeah. Worth the wait. Dirty 20.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
So you all actually roll high enough to hear this, but Hector, you definitely hear it first. You all hear what sounds like crashing. Some bushes like shaking and crashing, and snow crunching, kind of down back around this corner. So like on the other side of this rocky ledge here.
Oh, down there.
But
Are we going to be joined by another one of these rock?
Hector, you hear what sounds like some thumping. Like it sounds like pretty heavy thumping. Like so you heard a little bit more than they just heard the bushes, but you heard what sounds like heavy thumping, which would indicate something that weighs quite a bit around the corner.
Who was that?
So what would you guys like
I
to
do
do?
not know.
Eos suddenly turns and whinnies nervously and starts pawing at the ground. Luminode comes running back behind you guys.
Ugh, Faylene will immediately move away from Luminode and come pet Eos more.
Eos starts snorting and acts very unhappy about whatever's going on behind those rocks, but he does not retreat.
It's okay. It's okay.
What is Kerrigan doing?
Kerrigan moves over kind of amongst these trees and kind of crouches down and sort of hides and then starts to kind of move along the tree line. Lotto, he would kind of come up in front of Faylene a little bit, kind of up where Eos is, and you kind of see him strike a bit of a stance, but he doesn't seem to be taking it too seriously yet, but he kind of looks over at you guys with a look of like, what is that?
Well, Booker is going to trust that Kerrigan knows what she's doing, so he's gonna go over and hide too.
Roll a stealth.
Hector telepathically tells everyone to do that. Go and hide. Follow Kerrigan's lead. Go and hide in the bushes.
Lotto's going to go hide in the bushes.
Yeah, Booker is going to message back and say, I would stay and fight, but I don't have a weapon.
Faylene's gonna try to like gently tug on Eos's mane and try to lead him back into these larger bushes back here.
Yeah, roll a handle animal check. I'm having a dice problem. I gotta
16.
He would resist a little bit, and then he would obey and come with you.
Yeah,
you can tell he's quite a spirited animal.
She'll speak very softly to him and just under her breath, just sort of praising him as he comes and follows her along, because she knows that she's not his handler, right?
I'm gonna give you control of him so you can show me where you'd like to lead him to, basically.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she wants to lead him back here.
Okay.
And once Hector's in the bushes there, he'll just crouch down and not move and implement his fade away skill.
Gotcha.
So he essentially becomes invisible.
So as you guys are there, you guys hide. You hear more crashing. You hear the bushes rustle. You hear more thumping. And then you hear this sound, this whinnying, snorting sound. And then you see you see another horse come walking around.
Mm.
And it's tall and white with a mane just as black as night with these deep black eyes. And it comes walking out, and it's almost like prancing out, like high stepping. And it's kind of like looking around. In here, I'll show you a portrait of what it looks like. Kind of like that. But anyway, so but then it kind of just walks out here in the middle, and then it just kind of pauses around, and then it just stands there. And then its nose goes down, and it kind of pushes the snow around with its nose. It just seems to be chilling out, just like right there. And one thing you do notice is that in the picture there, it shows that it has a bridle on, but it actually does not have a bridle in game. It has no bridle, no tack, no saddle, no anything.
Hector immediately walks out of the brush. Hello, my friend. Good to see you again.
You would all see and hear this. And then the horse would look at you and then kind of walk up to you. And then it would snort and roll a handle animal check, but with advantage.
A dirty 20.
So your what would you be doing? Would you like be trying to like touch it or pet it, or are you just talking to it at this point?
Yeah, like, one arm, one hand out, open face.
So you would reach out, and it kind of sniffs your hand, and then it lets you pet it, and it kind of shakes its head, and it seems kind of flighty, like it's about to just break into a run at any moment, but it doesn't go anywhere. It just stays there, and it just looks at you. And when you look at its eyes, it's just got these deep black eyes, and you almost think to yourself, oh my gosh, like those eyes are somewhat unnatural, is what you find yourself thinking. What would everyone else like to do as this is going on? Lotto would step out of the bushes. Oh, wow. It's a horse. A fine one from the looks of it. I don't know much about horses. He would walk up to it. And then it let me actually roll for him. He would be like, hey there, and reach out with his hand. But then the horse kind of whinnies and actually rears up on its back legs. And then Lotto quick takes a step back as the horse crashes down, like right where he was standing. And then he's like, my God, it's a wild horse. Anyway, that's what Lotto does.
Yeah,
He's
Booker
not
would.
wild. He is just himself. Aren't you, Blinky?
Baleen looks very, very excited. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
She looks very excited, and she's staying by Eos, but she'll take a little bit of a step forward, and she's like, "Is that you mean friend? Like, did this come from your mountain?"
No. Blinky here's from here.
Oh,
Skadir. Do you remember Skadir? The dark
she didn't
one
meet
that came?
Skadir. Who's Skadir?
Oh,
Kerrigan would come
maybe
forward.
you didn't see her.
Kerrigan would come forward and say, he's from who?
Booker translates.
Oh, that's right. She would ask Booker, actually. I'm going to rephrase that. She would ask Booker, what did Hector say? Where did he acts like he knows this animal.
Yeah, Booker is going to translate. So, you seem to know that horse. Where did you mention it came from? Our friend over here seems to be very curious about it.
Skadir is trying to tempt me to abandon my beliefs. This horse is a promise of a better life, I'm guessing. But at this stage, Blinky here is actually quite an intelligent horse, if you haven't noticed. He's going to help me get around. It's quite tiring on one leg. I don't know if you've noticed. I don't go very fast. Even with Faylane's wonderful help, I'm still lagging behind most of the time.
Suddenly, Faylene, from behind you, there's just this snort and this angry whinny, and Eos crashes forward.
Sorry. Oh, yeah, I attached him. I could detach him. There you go.
And it crash forward, actually leaping over you. In fact, you would need to make a dexterity saving throw, DC 10, to avoid getting rammed by Eos as he leaps over you, like right over top of you.
That's a 5.
Oh, he actually slams into you, knocking you to the ground. You kind of fall to the ground and tumble, and you take 3 points of damage actually when you slam into the ground. But then Eos goes running up to this horse, and then the two of them just like this white horse kind of turns toward him, and they kind of go forehead to forehead, and they kind of seem to face off for a moment. Both of them start pawing at the ground and snorting at each other, and then Eos gets closer and kind of hooks his neck around the white horse, and they just seem to be like staring off at each other, facing off in a tense moment.
Eos, meet Blinky. Blinky, meet Eos. We're all traveling together now. Please be comfortable together.
So you guys notice that I got to get my dice to work. There we go. Okay. I got to make one more roll here. Okay. You would actually see. So those of you who would care enough to do this, you can roll either a handle animal or an insight check. But you see this white horse kind of back away a little bit, and Eos just kind of stands up tall and straight. And this horse kind of lowers its head a bit and kind of retreats a little bit.
Are they both male?
They are both male, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I rolled a 22, and I'm feeling it would just immediately kind of like get up to her feet as soon as possible and just be like, whoa, boys, whoa, and like not getting caught up in them, but yeah, just kind of to try to keep encouraged moving them apart.
How about Hector or Booker? Did either of you roll an insider handle animal check, or did you want to just to try to decipher what's going on?
I rolled a 7.
15.
Oh, okay. So Booker, to you, you're like, oh, I don't know, maybe they're going to fight. That's kind of what it looks like. But to Faylene and Hector, you kind of see that it looks like the white horse kind of backs off from Eos. However, you recognize a little something strange. Eos kind of is holding his head up proud in a kind of an aggressive manner. But you notice that this white horse is looking at him in such a manner that kind of suggests that this white horse is not playing games on the same level as Eos. Like, this white horse is almost like saying, okay, I won't mess with you. But you almost get the sense there's like a higher level of intelligence in that horse. So it's almost, I don't know, you just get the sense that he's letting Eos think he won the face-off. That's what it kind of looks like. Anyway, then Eos kind of seems to snort and then turn southward, shake his mane, and the standoff seems to be over. And Lumina comes running out of the bushes. Kerrigan, Booker, did you end up telling Kerrigan what Hector had said?
Yeah, I had put it in chat, but yeah, he does translate.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see that.
It's okay.
She would say to you, Booker, from Skiddeer? Is he serious? She like looks over at Hector. Hector, she like takes her mask off. You see this like shocked look on her face, but you don't understand what she's saying. And she would look at Booker and she's like, is he serious? Do you think he actually believes that? Is there any chance that's true? She seems to be asking you, Booker.
Oh, sorry. Well, he does seem to believe it.
She looks kind of worried, and then she says, it might be very bad news. But then again, maybe in these circumstances, we need his help. She kind of shakes her head as if she's kind of uncomfortable with the whole situation. And then she just keeps on. She kind of walks around all you guys. She kind of gives the horse a side eye and then walks past it. Keeps going. Anyway. All right. What are you guys going to do?
Hector's going to mount up and.
So when you mount up.
Heads off.
All right. So you mount up and then the horse starts running. You just feel suddenly just like, all this power just surge beneath you, and you just start to basically start to move just at a very light, incredible pace. Hector can feel the wind in his face, the cold air hitting him. And you feel like, is anyone going to ride Eos, actually? But Hector and this white horse, they start to ride very fast southward. They thundering of hooves, and they go.
Yeah, Booker wouldn't.
He's not going to.
Yeah, this is the first time he spends this close to a horse.
Faylene also wouldn't. She's never ridden a horse before, but she would like to stay close and lead him along. And she would look at the group kind of expectant that one of them would want to ride. And so maybe she'd look at Booker and be like, would you like, I think he might let you on if you prefer.
Look, this is the first time I've ever seen one of these this close. You only see them in the noble houses in the higher levels of the city. I have no idea. I've gotta be honest, I would not have any idea how to ride it.
Oh, it's easy. I mean, I've never ridden one either, not a horse, but you just jump on its back. Well, you don't jump. You lift yourself up and you grab, you see? And she would like grab the mane gently behind his withers on his shoulders. Not his withers, his shoulders. And just and you just kind of hold on here. And he's a very good and gentle beast. And as long as he is willing, I do not think it would be a problem.
Maybe next time.
Faylene, as you're saying this, suddenly he just takes his nose and just nuzzles like your arm. He kind of flips your arm up, as if to flip your arm up on top of his neck. And he starts pawing at the ground very anxiously, like he's in a hurry to get somewhere.
It does seem like he wants you to ride it.
Oh. Faylene kind of hesitates, and she's like, it feels a little bit like a betrayal, but if that's... I don't trust animals more than people, I suppose, so she will then climb on his back.
Okay, so if she climbs up there, suddenly he just turns and takes off. Just running full speed after Hector and the other horse. In fact, it's fast enough that your character would need to roll a animal check to stay on. You could either do handle animal, or you could roll a strength check.
Her animal handling is definitely way better. It's pretty good. She rolled a 16.
You could stay on, but you have to really hold on because you feel just this surge of energy. And you almost get the sense that Eos is trying to compete with this other horse and run faster. So those two, if you guys aren't careful, Hector and Faylene just surge into the distance, leaving Lotto, Booker, and Kerrigan would even not be able to keep up. And then Booker, you would see Luminode walk out of the woods, and you see that he's broken off a walking stick. And he kind of walks out and looks up at you, and then he like holds up his walking stick to you as if to show you.
He's going to reach for the stick.
Luminode would hand it to him.
And then he's like makes the movement of like, well, how he would use a walking stick. and then like look at him and go, is that right?
Luminode just looks at you with his big expressionless eye. He doesn't really do or say anything. He just is watching you.
Booker is just gonna think, I will decipher your language another day, but we're getting left behind. Come on. He starts walking.
So if Booker starts walking, Luminode would walk behind him, and you hear kind of little as his feet hit the snow. Obviously, he has to take like 3 steps for every step Booker takes. But
He's gonna look behind a little bit and say, you seem to be struggling a little bit. I could carry you.
are you gonna carry him?
Yeah.
If you lift him up, he feels very light, like actually surprisingly lightweight. Lighter than he looks, actually.
Booker is going to like stop there for a moment, stare at him, says, I should inspect you later. I can tell good craftsmanship when I see it. And he's gonna start walking faster to keep up with the others as best as he can.
He starts walking. Lotto's walking along with him. Kerrigan is jogging, and then up ahead of you, 2 horses just kicking up snow as they run. Faylene and Hector, are you going to try to keep your horses from running too fast, or are you going to let them run?
Yeah, Hector will just let it run.
Well, in that
he won't
case,
even
then,
look back. He won't even look back. He'll just keep going unless he's otherwise distracted. But he'll estimate how far before he thinks the team would need a rest, and then he'd stop there and wait.
Very good, very good.
Faylene would probably let him run for a minute, like just a minute of like, she actually kind of almost wants to see how fast Eos can go.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, Eos would run. I mean, keeping pace with that white horse, but it is fast. I mean, I don't know if Faylene has ridden very many horses, but she would know, like, in the grand scheme of things, definitely at the faster end of horses on the fast to slow spectrum for sure.
Yeah, she's never ridden a horse, but she has ridden her like the reindeer that her herd travels with. And I think for her, this is almost like a very freeing experience. It's probably the closest she's felt at home in a while. Yeah. And so it just fills her with like this temporary elation, but she doesn't want to get too far ahead of the group.
Okay, gotcha. Now with that, we're going to switch back to Valenthi. And I'm going to change the scene here real quick. I'm going to go back to the cave. All right. So, Valenthi, you are back here. You're down in the lower level of this cave. Tika is kind of bouncing around, kicking rocks. What would you like to do?
Like I said, just observing her and studying the cave, study anything that's interesting, investigate anything that's might be popping out.
Yeah. So one thing that's obvious in this little space is the sparkling coming from under the water. And if she would look kind of closer at that, she would see that basically it almost seems like if you look into the water, it seems like there's like little bits of gravel on the bottom, like little pebbles, but some of them are just sparkling. And it almost looks like silver, but the way that they're sparkling would seem to indicate there's some kind of magical effect going on. That's the most noticeable thing. You also notice that in the center, there's this ring of stones, like here in the center of the little pool thing. There's a circle of stones, and it's kind of small, but there's really nothing inside of them. But the inside, so the stones are kind of they're like piled there, and they look normal and they look like they came from this cave. However, the insides of the stones look especially smooth, and they look like they're perfectly spherical. In this image, it doesn't really look like it, but it's like the outside of them are rough and look like stones, but the inside looks like a meticulously honed, round stone surface that forms a little circle. And then, of course, there's rock underneath it. It's like those rocks are stacked on the rock of the cave floor.
She would just study them, and she would look. So what are these right here?
Oh, that's my place where I sit and think. I like to think there. It's a good spot. And then you see her jump into the water, and when she does, she disappears beneath the waves, and you notice she actually vanishes when she goes under the water. Roll a perception check.
Perception. All right. A 7.
Yeah, you actually can't even see her, but then she pops up out of the water over here, and then she kind of shakes her hair, and then she just kind of jumps up out of the water, and she does it with kind of effortless floating ease. And you realize that when she jumps up out of the water, she doesn't really have any water on her. She just kind of jumps up out of the water. She's not wet or anything. I mean, she is semi-transparent. But,
why are you stuck here? Why is this the only place you think? What do you think about?
Oops.
Whoa.
She's going to say, well, she sits down beside the water. She says, I think a lot about what it was like before I was here, before I came here. I don't know why I'm stuck here, actually. I think I know, but I don't think I know all the way. You know how sometimes you know things, but you forgot about them? You ever do that?
Possibly. I did live by myself for a while and sort of forget faces and ideas. So, why do you suspect, then? Why are you here?
Well, I think I'm here because there's something important in this cave. I think it's this warm water. Look how beautiful it is. Look how it sparkles. She points down into it.
You're here because something is important, possibly the warm water. So somebody else imprisoned you here.
She kind of looks down. I don't think someone else imprisoned me here. I think I just decided to stay here. I just don't remember why. And I know that something real bad's can happen if I leave, or something really bad could happen if I leave.
I'm really bad to who?
I'm sorry, what was that? I didn't quite hear that.
And she says, really bad to who?
Well, I just get a bad feeling. Maybe for me, but it might not be all me. It might be bad things that'll happen to the land, like the mountains and the forests. I don't know. Those are really things I care about. I don't know that I care about much else. I care about this cave. I care about the animals.
It's very strange to me. I used to care about the forest and animals, but not much of people, but yet you're seeking friendship for just a little while. Even though I'm gonna die, it doesn't seem like it bothers you, but yet you wish to have my company for as long as you can. Why is that a conundrum? Why do you care if you only care for land and you only care for mountains and trees?
I don't know. She kind of like looks down at the water. I feel like she kind of jumps up and she says, I think. I'm going to change the music here real quick. I think we should get in the middle. And then she kind of walks over here. And then you see her like jump into the middle of this circle. And she's like, come on. She's like, maybe I can remember the questions while I'm in here, because sometimes I remember things really well when I'm standing in here.
Valancy will try to read her. Any kind of insight from this?
Yeah. Go for it.
If she's trying to be malicious or not, basically, in that sense. 18.
So Valente gets this sense about Tika that there isn't really a malicious intent here. That she is kind of devious. She's obviously trying to get Valente to stay here, which may not necessarily be in Valente's best interest. So that is kind of like a selfish thing, but she doesn't actually seem to be super capable, from what Valente sees, of like really kind of like really deep set deception. She almost has like a very limited intelligence. Like she's almost behaving in a manner that suggests that she's relatively maybe aloof and sort of not in the know about a lot of things. She seems to kind of be this magical creature, but she doesn't really understand even very much about herself, which would suggest that there's maybe something different to play here, but that's what Valente would pick up on.
Valancy will walk over and says, how many people have you had in the few many years, I suppose, not few, but how many people have been in this cave that have died?
Oh, quite a few. They usually die once they come in here. She kind of kicks at the ground a little bit.
Yes.
I wish they didn't.
Do you care for any of them?
I care for all of them. I mean, I like friends as long as they're actual friends. I don't want people in here who are going to try to hurt me. The ones who try to hurt me, I was glad they died. But the ones who are friendly, it always made me sad.
Yes, that could be very sad. It would be very sad if you would try to hurt me.
Oh, I wouldn't try to hurt you. We're friends, as far as I can tell.
But
And then she
you
would
don't
hold up.
care if I would to die, though. Or you do care, but you're only care so long as I am alive.
She kind of cocks her head at you. I want really bad to keep you alive.
Well, I want to really understand you and see why you're trapped here. I'd rather you to have friends, but I'd rather you be able to be free from this, so you wouldn't be stuck here and have to see friends die.
I would like to leave too. I mean, it is a nice place. I just don't feel like I can leave.
Well, why don't we try to figure it out together then?
Okay. She kind of hops out of the circle and over by you, and then she just kind of stands there.
And she says, Valencia will hold out her hand over to her.
Tika will take her hand. And when you take her hand, it feels physical, but kind of strange, like it's physical, but like it's weightless almost.
Well then, shall we try to figure this out together then? Let us see what you can remember. And she will guide her now toward the center.
Oh, okay. She's going to take her in there. All right, so she's going to stand in there with her. So in the center, Valenti would have to stand very close to her. They would have to stand to have their feet on the ground. If you're standing in the circle of rocks, you would have to be quite close together because it's probably about 4 feet. The rocks probably form about a 4-foot diameter. So Tika would stand very close, and then she would look up at Valenti. And then Valenti should roll a quick, actually a wisdom save.
Wisdom save. Uh-oh. Let's see here.
Suddenly, it looks like Tika's eyes start to get bigger. They start to kind of grow a little bit.
That would be a 21.
So Valenti becomes aware that the room around her starts to look a little funny. It starts to kind of distort a little bit. And she gets this feeling that there's maybe a vision trying to impress itself upon her. And she gets this feeling that, she kind of feels it, but then she's able to push it out of her mind. And then she hears these voices.
Could she let it in carefully just to see what this vision is?
Yeah. Okay, so if she's going to let it in very carefully, she would become aware of these voices that are kind of bouncing around the cavern. And then it would say, the voices are all, it sounds like one person, but many voices talking at the same time, but they're all the same voice. And then it's saying 3 different things. Let me show you the truth. Let me show you what really is. Let me show you where you are. Like these voices just keep circling around.
And then she will let it in. She wants to know the truth.
Okay, so when she lets it in, suddenly the cave around her would change. Switch to music. The cave around her would change, and Tika suddenly looks different. Actually, Tika over here for a second. And suddenly, there's someone standing in the circle with her who does not really look like Tika. It does look like Tika, but it looks very different. Let me see if I had a portrait. Did I get a portrait? Yeah. The figure looks like this. Can you see that in the screen?
Yeah.
So it looks like Tika, but it's a black and white. And suddenly, Faylene looks around and sees that the cave everything is in black and white. She's seeing in black and white. And then there's this glowing eyes. All the green that Tika was just seems to be glowing in the eyes, basically. And this figure looks at Valenti, and then she speaks, and her voice kind of echoes throughout the cavern, but it's like it actually sounds like 4 different voices all talking at the same time when she talks. And then she would say, Valenti, you do not come from Regenesis. You come from another world.
This is that I do. Not by my will, but I am here.
And then she's going to say, let me think. I got to think about this for a second, how she would word this. I do not know how you have come to be here, but I would very much like to understand your purpose. She's talking almost like she just became aware of you. She's kind of asking very rudimentary questions, but in an understanding way.
Valancy will stare back and say,
my purpose was to return home, to protect my animals, make sure they were okay, but now things have changed. I've seemed to have become attached to people, to this idea of Kerrigan's people as well. This evil that is upon them, I don't wish that to be there anymore. I wish to try to unite maybe people together against this Vira, or whatever greater forces against them.
She was saying for a way.
I don't think I wanted to be a leader. Somehow I was leading them, but I just wanted to survive, to help them. I could not leave them behind. But I wish for them to be able to go home themselves. At least the group that I came here with.
This person is going to kind of look at you, and then she's going to float a little bit off the ground, and she's going to kind of float away from Valenti just a little bit over the water. And then she's going to draw up some water, and water is going to kind of flow up around her, and she's going to kind of shape something with it. And you see her shape, this shape of a dragon, like a little dragon made of water in her hands with these wings. And she's going to say, there is a great power that stirs in the south. There is a great shaking in the earth. There is a great movement in the sky. What do you know of these things? Are you aligned with them? Do you serve the great power in the south? Have you contributed to the shaking of the earth or the opening of the skies?
I have no idea of anything of the south. As you have said, I am not of this world. I have not contributed to anything. All I know is that I wish to help people for the good. But if should there be evil, just like there is evil in my world, I will stand against it. I won't just stand and watch while others look away, or when others freeze. I will take action, and that's what I'm hoping to do now.
She's going to say, you care for nature, animals. You said you wanted to take care of your animals. Do you care this way about all the things of the forest and the barrens, the prairies, the oceans?
I care for nature in general, yes. We can't survive without nature, but then sometimes we can learn a lot from it.
She's going to float closer, and she's going to hold out a hand to Valenti as if she wants to touch her in the forehead, and she's going to say, show me. And then she's going to reach out and try to touch Valenti's forehead with a finger. Is Valenti going to let her?
Yeah, Valancy would let her.
When she touches Valenti's head, she feels this rush of magical energy, and she feels like her mind is wanting to be opened up, and the memories just pulled out of it. Not like pulled out of it, but like viewed. Would she allow this to happen, or would she resist it?
She would probably allow it.
So once this happens, and Valenti suddenly sees memories, like, I mean, it's almost like she goes into a dream state and memories just fly past her mind's eye. And then she's not quite sure how long this goes on, but it's almost like she lives, it's almost like she relives her whole life, but in a fast forward kind of motion. And then, the more significant moments of her life kind of slow down a bit, and she kind of sees them replayed. She gets a sense that this figure is watching these moments with a bit more curiosity and interest. And then once the replaying is done, she feels the hold on her mind released. And this figure would say, Tika did not understand what you are. She did not understand why you were here. She's just a fragment of my essence that I use when I'm busy with other things. She just keeps an eye out here. But I can see that we are friends. She says, Tika's a bit of a trickster, but I don't have time for games. Your friends, they travel south. There is a fort to the south. There is a very valuable individual within that fort who is in grave danger. An individual who is taken from these lands who should be returned to them. Would you be interested in accepting a bit of a quest to retrieve this individual and set them free? You are stricken with a very deadly ailment. If you would accept this, I would heal it for you and set you about your way.
Who is this individual? Is he for nature? Is he
Oh, yes.
for
You'll know
helping
this.
Kerrigan's people?
No, this individual you will know by the following signs. There is a wagon in the fort, a wagon with metal caging covered with a canvas. From inside, you will hear the sounds of an animal. But know this, that this creature is much less animal than you or I. Pull it from the cage, see it safely out of the fort, and you will have done a great service for the natural world.
And who are you then? Are you against the evil that Vyra brings?
She says, I am Mithraelon. Vyra and I once knew each other, but Vyra turned from the old ways. She was seduced by the power in the south. She was seduced by what shakes the earth beneath us. Seduced by the promise of greater unnatural power. But there are those of us who yet resist her. We have just been forced to take alternative measures in the face of her growing strength.
Well then, Kerrigan's people are in danger by Vyra and her uniting of these frost giants. So in that case, yes, I will do this for you.
She would kind of smile, and then she would hold up her hand, and you see that there's this bit of green energy, like a sphere in her hand. And then suddenly you feel this rumbling, and you feel this like thumping sound beneath your feet. And if you look down, you see that the water around you, it like every time there's a thump, the water kind of like, makes little waves. It's almost like you feel like there's some kind of heartbeat beneath where you're standing. And then she would hold out the orb to you, and she would say, place your hand on mine. Let's make it done. A deal. A sacred accord. You free this creature. I heal you. And like that, we are allies.
And she nods and places her hand on the orb.
When she does that, suddenly, she called her name Mithrael, and she then suddenly flips her hand over. And when she does, suddenly the cave goes back to the way it was. You see it's in color. You see the bushes. Everything looks normal. And you hear this little giggle come from up in the rocks. And you see Tika kind of peek out. And then you kind of see her wave, and then she like disappears into the brush. And then she actually vanishes. And you feel A lot better. You don't feel feverish anymore.
Huh. And I will walk out of the ring and start making my way back.
So, as you start to walk out, Tika would suddenly reappear and say, "Hey, there's a quicker way. Want me to show you?"
I gotta return. I have Luna waiting for me.
And then she kind of looks down and she's like, "You're not going to stay, are you?"
Unfortunately, what I've learned from within the orb, I can't. But I will return, I promise, to visit. You shouldn't be lonely here, even though you may be an aspect of something else.
She kind of kicks a rock and she's like, "Okay. Well, here."
Valente will go over and
She starts
place
to
a,
run over. She starts to run toward Valente. So you guys would meet in the middle, and then she holds out her hand, and you see something appear in her hand, and she's like, "I'll give this to you as a present, but only if you promise to come back sometime." And you see her hold up a magic wand.
Valente looks at it confused.
A wand.
It looks like it's made of white bone.
And she takes it.
Oh, I don't think I've ever used a wand before.
She's going to say, "Be careful. It's a little dangerous."
She looks at it and studies it. I will certainly try.
Are you gonna take it?
Yeah, she takes it.
Okay. So when you take it, it actually imbues you with some knowledge. Here, I'm gonna send it to you real quick.
Oh.
I'm trying to find a good way to copy this over. Here we go. I think this does it. I'm sending it in private message.
Okay.
All right. There it is. I sent it to you. It basically conveys to you what it does.
Oh, okay.
And then she hands it to you, and then she would say, "Don't forget, you promised."
Oh no, I cannot ever forget you, Tika.
And she will put a hand on her cheek and say,
"Don't worry. I will return. You shouldn't be lonely either."
Okay. She kind of just like looks disappointed.
Valente will nod at her, and then she will start heading back up to go and find Luna.
All right. So she's going to head up there, and is she going to kind of just climb up the rocks and make her way back?
Yeah, just climbing back up the rocks and to go find Luna. Yeah.
All right, very good. With that being said, we're going to go back to the other group for a moment. I'm going to change scenes Whoops. Is this the one? This is the one. Oh, nope, I gotta go back. Yeah, this is right. Yeah, there we go. Shabam. All right. So meanwhile, you guys were riding south. Moving at a pretty quick clip from the sound of it. Now, as you guys are riding, does anyone have anything they want to do? Anything they want to, anything other than travel that you want to do?
Actually, yes. Booker would ask Kerrigan why she was. What is up with this figure that Hector mentioned that the horse came from? What was the name again?
Skidir.
Yeah, he would ask her about Skidir because, well, he obviously is not familiar with it.
So at this point, you guys have been traveling for quite a little while. You guys are probably have a good pace, and you've been making good ground through the barren lands. In fact, you know what? We've actually probably moved. I'm going to keep you here for just a second, but you guys are probably in a location that looks different. But she would say, Skidir is kind of dangerous. He is the one who controls the veils between worlds, especially the world between life and death. I mean, he's revered because he helps souls go from this world to the next when they die. But he is not known to be especially kind. He's known to be manipulative and deceitful. And he's known to distort reality to exploit his own selfish plans.
Interesting.
People worship him because they're afraid of death, and he can promise safety during the transition. But sometimes it comes at a price. The price is too great, according to our shaman, who I've been listening to since I was a little girl. He's not really to be trusted unless you have no one else to turn to. And that's when you're most vulnerable to him, when you've no one else to turn to.
Right.
It is interesting. That horse, she kind of nods toward the horse that Hector's riding. It bears a striking resemblance to Acleos, the legendary. In the stories, Skidir always came for the dead on a white horse, with black mane, with deep black eyes. That horse looks exactly like this horse in the legends. It is uncanny and unsettling.
Well, with what little I've heard, might be the right time for legends to return. Though I can't say I'm a big fan of superstition, but help is help, and I'll keep an eye out. That deity, well, they don't seem like the one that you should be making deals with without concern.
Yeah, well, Hector seems to be kind of a different character. I don't really understand his motivations sometimes. As you guys see, I've switched the scene a little bit. You guys are now kind of more in the open country. And as they're talking, are you still carrying Luminode?
Yep.
Okay.
Just flows up in this more open area.
It's what now?
Hector slows up in this more open area. Yeah, he's reminded of visions that he's been given previously of black rocks and holes in the ground, so he slows up a little bit just to make sure.
Yeah, it's actually becoming very wide open as you travel south. The forest kind of like the forest line, you kind of leave the forest line if you continue to go south and you head more into the open country. With that being said, there is a bit of a navigational aspect to this. However, Kerrigan, you know, oftentimes she kind of interjects and says, "We need to steer more left. Do you see that rock over there? That's a landmark." Or she'll say something like, "No, no, no. See that ravine? We need to stay to the right of that. We can't go that way. We have to stay going this way." So she kind of just like starts interjecting these like directions. So do you guys basically follow her instructions for navigation? Would you guys trust Kerrigan to guide you?
No, Booker so far hasn't found a reason not to.
If Booker's translating, yeah, Faylene would, and she would try to be taking like mental notes in case they need to find a way back.
Yeah, same goes for Booker.
Gotcha. So if you continue to ride, oh, go ahead, Hector. Go
I don't know yet.
ahead. We're saying you've reached a point where it's about midday by the time you reach this open area, right? So
he doesn't trust her.
all right.
So he'll just rely on the horse to steer him straight.
So actually, roll an insight check real quick.
Total of 12.
You realize that a lot of the times you notice the horse kind of starts to take the lead, and then you'll even notice that the horse will kind of seem to veer in a direction that maybe wouldn't have seemed intuitive. And then about 2 minutes later, Kerrigan will kind of shout, "We have to go, this way or that way." And interestingly, you realize that the horse seems to know before she says anything. Like he seems to be taking direction before she says it. And by the time she says it, usually if you let the horse lead the way, it seems like you're usually already on the trek that she is saying. Just that's just something you would notice.
Would Hector and Faylene be able to talk as they're riding, or are the horses moving too fast?
Yeah, no, you could totally talk as long as you're not going at a full bore sprint. You could totally talk. Yeah.
No, once we got to that open ground, Hector and the horse slowed right down.
Yeah.
To normal walking pace.
I think if we have time, yeah, Faylene would, once they kind of come out of the trees, she probably would even slow Eos down to match Hector's pace as best as she could. And she's probably panting kind of hard, but out of like exhilaration of the wind sort of whipping past her hair and the sensation of going through the forest. And then she would look at Hector and just be like, "Hector, who are your people? Who claims you?"
People who claims me.
Yes, do you have family, a tribe?
I have family somewhere. Once upon a time. I don't know exactly where they are. I left when I was about 13. Been just sort of floating from shrine to shrine, so to speak. Learning what I could from one, moving on to the next, learning a bit more.
So you don't have I've heard that many people have like a group of holy men that they stay with, and that was not you.
No, I tried. I did. They weren't truthful in their dealings. They were very, let us say, selfish, I think is the best word. No, they didn't agree with me.
You are a
And
rootless man.
and the more I learned, I realized that it didn't matter which god, it didn't matter which, religion you were following. They all had the same flaws. They had that same destructive tendencies.
What do you
So
mean? What is the flaw?
the clergy themselves. And then, of course, the god pretending to be more than what they are.
In my clan, they say I was chosen by a god, but I've never heard its voice or anything to suggest that. It is strange to me, the idea that people talk to gods, or that how can they be a god and walk up on people? It does not make sense to me.
Exactly. Gods just don't make sense. But if you have a belief makes sense.
What do
If
you
you
believe?
believe in yourself, then you're stronger than any god.
Is that what you believe? You believe in yourself?
Yes. Yes, very much so. I believe that I hear the voice of death, and I just direct my efforts in one direction or another. I do not go out there harvesting souls. I shepherd them in. That's why I leave the flowers.
I liked the flowers. They were very beautiful and a very soothing gesture.
I think it's only fair that all creatures are allowed to pass over peacefully. There is no judgment. There is just here and there.
And that's it? What happens there? Do you know?
I don't know. I do not know. I have not passed over there yet. It's something I don't plan on learning for a long time.
I like to think there's no here or there. It's just another type of here. Like we just go on and I don't know, like how a plant drinks water. The water's still there. It's just in the plant now.
Yeah, I can see your reasoning there. Could definitely have that belief and always live in the now. It's a lovely way of doing it.
I suppose so. You're very strange, but I think the way you look at things, it makes some sense. It at least makes more sense than anything Soul says.
Yeah, Soul's a little confused lately, but he'll get there. Hopefully this time, wherever he goes, in the light, hopefully this time he gets some time to reflect upon his choices. See
Hopefully.
if they can guide him to his true essence.
Well, I wanted to know. Thank you for answering my questions. Sometime I want to know how you lost your leg, if you will tell me.
Honestly, I was drunk. I fell over. A door fell on it.
That's it? A
That's
door?
it. A door. Oh, a dungeon door. Yeah, a big, heavy stone.
I don't know.
Dungeon.
I've never seen a door.
You've never seen a door?
Well, I mean, I've
Like-
seen a door from a distance, a far distance. So I understand, what it looks like and the idea of a threshold, an opening. But
Well, above one of those was a giant rock, and it fell across my leg. And then my teammates pulled me out, and we got away with some treasure. And then all of a sudden, I was here. My leg was throbbing, but the ice felt good on it because it took away some of that pain. But other than that, that's the story of my leg.
did you like your teammates? Were they?
No.
You're...
No, we were just mercenaries doing a job.
Soul tried to explain treasure and money to me, and I don't understand that either. I think we're surrounded by treasure just right here, where we are.
Yes. But sometimes you need to pay for things. So you need some money to be able to survive better.
Oh, yes, he explained to me about money. I think it's absurd, but if you say so.
And one of the ways of earning money is going into a dungeon and trying to find treasure for people.
Suddenly, as you guys are speaking, you start to see these poofs of snow come up around you. Just like poof, poof, poof. And you see these forms start to pop up out of the snow. You hear the cocking of crossbows, and you see eyes looking at you from behind the rocks. Roll a perception check.
Yeah. 15?
Got an 8.
Can I use my passive?
Yeah, you can use your passive.
Oh, my... that's
14.
Oh, mine 13. Yeah, the dice are not loving me today.
You guys quickly see that almost as if basically they were hiding under the snow and then they popped up when you came riding by. They look like goblins. You see several with crossbows, and you see one kind of hiding behind the rocks here. But then you see a larger creature stand up. You see another orc, a white orc, stand up from behind the rocks, and he kind of walks out here, and he holds up a hand as if to signal to slow down or stop. And then he would call out in orc, "Hey, you, hold, stop."
Booker is going to raise his hands and gesture to everyone else to stop, and then he looks like say, "All right, we are stopping."
Are you guys gonna stop when you see these things pop up?
Yes, Faline is going to stop. In fact, if she can, she might even back up Eos just a tad.
Eos is looking around, snorting, pawing at the ground. And Hector, your horse is doing the same thing, just like snorting, pawing at the ground. The horses are definitely not pleased with this situation. You see Luminode go hide behind a rock. Lotto just kind of looks around. You see Kerrigan, like her mask is on, but then she looks around and she curses in orc. And then she would say, raiders, goblin raiders. She says to you, Booker.
Yeah, he's going to tell that to everyone else with quickly using message.
So this orc would come walking up, but he actually speaks common, and he starts speaking in kind of broken common. Who are you? Why do you come through our trail? This is not your land. You must pay the toll. My name is Uyat. I am the ruler of this trail. This land, he kind of points around. As far as you can see, this is my territory. Mine. And he like beats his chest. You do not have permission to pass through here.
Urges the horse forward. And as he does so, just in a little walk, and as he does so, he pulls out the eaten bone that he salvaged earlier. And he pulls his hands together and he says, do you not recognize us? We are death. We are here. Should you be? And he spreads his hands apart and the bone turns into a giant shadowy scythe, just glistening with death and cold.
Oh, roll an intimidate check with advantage, actually.
I'm scared. So
Could I provide like a help action if I were to translate it to orc?
Yeah. Are you going to translate it into orc as well?
Yeah.
Yes. Hector's already getting advantage, but I would say that would make a big difference. But so yes. Hector, what did you make for your check?
21.
21? Okay, so you suddenly hear murmurs. Like you hear these goblins start to murmur around you. You kind of hear them all like chattering, like quietly, like around to each other. And then you hear this little goblin. This little goblin kind of walks up to the big orc and kind of tugs on his belt. And then you hear him whispering. And then the orc would just be like, shut up. And then he slaps the little goblin and he like stumbles backwards a little bit. You see that the orc looks unnerved, but he doesn't seem completely sold yet. And he would say,
Hector kicks Blinky in the hindquarters and gets him to rear up.
oh, okay, roll a handle animal check real quick.
Enough, 18.
Yeah, no, the horse rears up. I mean, just magically whinnies. I mean, it just comes out like a growling, awful sound the horse makes. And he like the orc kind of like stands back and he reaches for his weapon. You see all the goblins kind of like shirk back. They all kind of duck down beneath the rocks a little bit. Kerrigan comes running forward and she kind of flips her mask off and she starts speaking in orc, which Booker, you understand. She actually says, what he says is true. You see it. Not only does he carry a scythe, he says, but he rides, I gotta remember what the name is. But he rides Aklios. This is Skadir incarnate. She just seems to back up your story a bit. Okay, now at this point, does anyone else want to do anything, or are you going to kind of just wait for them to respond? Or
I mean, I'm thinking I could use prestidigitation to make a subtle sensory effect around the horse to just make it look more intimidating slash mystical.
Would you like to do that?
Yeah.
Go ahead and describe what you use. Do you want to have it look like anything specific? Like you want to describe it?
Come again, please.
Would you like to describe what it looks like how you'd like it to look?
Um. Well, I think he would create illusory black particles um, flying out of the horse's mane and maybe a little bit from around the eyes.
Okay. So, when this happens, the goblins all continue to murmur, and then the big orc guy, you see in his eyes that he looks a little bit afraid. He's going to speak up and say, "If you are truly the death, come ride through my territory. What do you seek? Why are you here?"
Wayward souls. There are souls ahead of us at the fort, and I need them. Out of my way.
You guys should roll an insight check, all three of you.
Let's hope this time I rolled more than a 7.
Oh, that's a good one. 23.
Oh, 11. I did roll better.
What did you make, Booker?
11.
And then how about you, Faylene?
17.
Okay, so you all can see that this orc is weighing his options. He seems to be really thinking hard about this. And then he's kind of pausing, and he's not responding really quickly. You can see that he seems to be teetering on the edge of making a decision. I don't know if anyone wants to do anything while you're waiting. He's kind of waiting for a good 5 seconds before he says another thing. He seems to be just looking, pondering, and I have to actually roll and see what his temperament is. But if anyone wants to do anything else before he speaks or acts, you can. There's a lull in the exchange.
Faylene would say, the Shepherd of Death has spoken. And he says flee, and she would cast command.
Oh, who's she going to cast it on?
She's going to cast it on him, because he seems to be the leader.
What's the save?
It is a 14.
Okay, here we go. Just going to roll. Oh. He makes the save. But he flinches a little bit. And then he kind of takes another step backward. When he does, this goblin scurries back behind this rock. These other goblins kind of scurry back. And then he's going to kind of shout out, okay. All right. We will not stand in your way, impede your progress. And then he would kind of move to the side, and he kind of waves his arms at the goblins, and they all kind of you see them kind of lower their weapons and start to back away. And then he would kind of call out, go forward in peace, bother us no more, torment us not.
Hector will start urging the horse forward again, heading south, just at a walking pace. And in the orc's head, he hears, "Wise choice, little one. Your time is not far away, though. I will be back."
Oh, you hear him he doesn't sound very happy about it. Are you guys going to follow Hector through this kind of this opening created? Basically, the path south kind of goes like right here.
Faylene will wait. She's going to see if she can get Eos to actually stay in the back.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Hector, if you move, that way, Kerrigan just kind of sticks kind of close to you, and Lotto's kind of behind you.
Yeah, Booker as well.
Luminode is just like basically hiding behind rocks, trying to run.
Oh, actually, Booker is gonna go and get Luminode and then follow
Okay.
close.
You pick him up. So at this point, Eos would be in the rear. You see Eos looking around at these goblins, just like looking back and forth, as if just staying aware of where the potential enemies are.
I should just pat his neck and be like, "You're a good boy, good horse. It's okay."
So now, Hector, as you ride through, I'm assuming you kind of riding this way. Does that sound accurate? As you're riding
Yep.
through, suddenly this goblin comes running towards you, and he throws himself onto the ground, like literally on his face. He throws himself down, and he starts chattering in Goblin. Now, does anyone here speak Goblin?
No.
No.
So he's just chattering in Goblin, and I mean, his head is down in the snow, and he's just talking. I don't know if you want to do anything about that. He's making like a
How did
pleading.
the horse react when
The horse kind of just like looks down at him and doesn't really seem to react in any like alarmed way or scared way. In fact, you almost see the horse kind of look down almost in an interested way.
Hector will lean forward with his scythe and use the tip of it to lift the goblin's chin up and say, "It's not your time." Just in common. "It's not your time. I'll be back when it is.
When
You go and take care of things until then."
About the time you hear this, you see the goblin reach into his cloak, and he's like, and then he pulls out like a whole handful of like little wooden amulets, and they all look like little basically carved symbols of like faces, just faces that almost resemble skulls kind of, but they're kind of crude, not very well done. You recognize them as sort of bearing a resemblance to the symbols of Skidir that was on the gear you received from Skidir.
Yep.
He seems to be showing you that he has religious totems to the god Skidir.
Yeah.
And then he kind of crawls actually in front of your horse, like on his knees, hands and knees literally, crawls up to the front hooves of the horse. And he starts to kind of grovel and like he continues to chatter. Like he's just saying all kinds of things that none of you understand.
Yeah. So he'll reach down and grab the skulls, and he'll look at them and turn them over and sort of look down at the goblin and say, "Here, I'll fix these for you." And he'll cast mending on them, but in doing so, it transform the skulls into the shape of the death's head moth that Hector has tattooed in his hands, and then hand back the relic.
So when Hector hands these back, the goblin goes very silent, and he's on his knees now, and he collects them, and he's just like sitting there looking at them. You see that this little goblin seems to be dressed in what might be rough, like he's not wearing armor, like or has any visible weapons. But he does have like a staff beside him that has some little totems on it. You think he might be like a shaman or maybe some kind of religious figure. But he collects these totems and then he just like looks up and he just goes dead silent. And he just sits there on his knees and he looks at them. And you almost see the color just like drain from his face as he stares at these things. Like his eyes are just riveted. And it's a very tense scene. None of the other goblins or the orc make a peep at this point. What would you guys like to do?
Hector will just sort of say, spread the word, and then start moving away.
Roll me a quick religion check, Hector. Would it be fair to say you're starting to ride around him then? Would it be fair to say? Like you're sidestepping?
Yeah, but gently.
Okay.
Okay, so that's a dirty 20 for religion.
Oh, dirty 20. So suddenly, as you say, spread the word, you realize that your voice kind of booms out just a little bit, like with a kind of a power. And when it does, all the goblins kind of jump. And so does the orc. He kind of steps back. And you get this cold feeling that settles upon you. And you realize it is this goblin's time. There's this, like, that thought just settles within Hector, just like a cold cube of ice sitting in his core. It's like it settles in like a realization.
So this fella here.
Yeah, that little goblin who's staring at the totems that you shaped.
Hector looks down. I'm sorry, my friend. I was mistaken. It is your time. And from around the goblin, the shadows start swarming and reach out and zap into him. A con save 15 for a sapping sting.
Uh-oh. Sapping sting. It's going to be with disadvantage. He does not make the save.
Yeah. So he will take... sorry. Go away. Too many screens. So, there we go. So it takes... so he takes 7 necrotic damage, I think that is, and he's prone.
So as this is happening, you say the shadows are coming around him and stabbing into him, basically.
Yep.
So as this is happening, he's sitting there, and you see, like, all of you see, like, he's sitting there, and he starts to shake, and the color just drains from his face, leaving his skin just blanched white. You see the eyes, his eyelids peel back from his eyeballs, his cheeks sink in, and his lips pull back, revealing his goblin teeth, making it almost look like a skull, like his face looks like a skull. And then, Hector, you realize some unseen force possesses him to just slam down onto the ground, and then he flips onto his back, his shrunken, shriveling face staring upwards at the white sky. And you hear him wheezing through his constricting airway.
And then Hector lowers the scythe to decapitate him.
With a slice of the scythe, suddenly there's a little thump as the head bounces away from the body. And I mean, very quickly you see the goblins just disappear. They all start just taking off. You see this orc standing here just like looking absolutely what would be the word? He is, man, what is the word for it? It's amazed, but not in a good way. Like absolutely awe-smitten and actually terrified is what he looks like. The other goblins all start like running and hiding behind the rocks more. You see Kerrigan look down, like her eyes go wide. Lotto even is like, you kind of hear him say, "Oh my God."
Hector dismounts and kneels down next to the goblin's corpse and begins muttering to himself, and one hand hovering over the corpse, and the flowers start blooming from this fresh corpse on the ground. Go, my friend. Have a safe journey. And then he remounts his horse, looks around and says, if there's no one else, we shall keep going.
So at this point, all the goblins are now hiding. This orc is just standing there, just transfixed. He doesn't say anything or do anything. He just stands there. You can see his hands shaking ever so slightly as he stands there.
Hey, quick question. Does this orc have any weapons?
He does actually. He has a big axe on his back, and he has a longbow on his back with arrows as well, and a big knife on his belt.
Yeah, Booker is going to take a step towards him. He's gonna deep down. He's a little terrified of Hector as well, but he's gonna try to hide it.
Is he gonna take his weapons?
He's going to take his axe.
The orc,
he's gonna say this is in service of him.
the orc doesn't move a muscle. However, Kerrigan, actually, no, I take that back. Actually, no, she would. She's actually going to step forward, and she's going to grab his coat and like pull it off of him, and just like kind of tear it off of him. And then she's going to hand it to you, Booker. And then she's going to mutter, "Raiders don't deserve coats." And then she walks off.
Oh, appreciate it.
Us.
A little crude, but does remind me of my coat.
And as she walks away, she would mutter, "Take the rest of his stuff too."
Well, okay.
And then she mutters some obscure curse word, apparently, that her culture uses that you're not familiar with. Something
Hector
like,
looks back. Hector looks back and says, Lotto, grab whatever the goblin is not using now. Some of it may come in handy for others.
Hector kind of kneels down and kind of goes through the goblin's pockets. He digs out what seems to be like a component pouch, a knife, and a few little bits of jewelry and some dried meat. But then he actually digs out another thing. He pulls out this necklace on a chain that's silver, and he kind of holds it up to you. He's like, "Does that look familiar to you?" And if would you take it if he hands it to you?
Yes. Yeah, I trust Lotto.
You see that there's like a coin on it, but in the middle of the coin there is what seems to be a bumblebee surrounded by the shape of a flame.
Ooh. Hector sort of looking at his wrist at the same time where the bracelet is at the moment.
Yeah, you look at them and they're an exact match, the same emblem.
Yeah. So yeah, he'll. So that's on a necklace. You said?
It's on a chain necklace, but it was in his pocket. He wasn't wearing it.
Yeah. Hector will put it around his neck.
Now, at this point, from back north, you guys hear the sound. You hear this thundering sound of something running through the snow. And suddenly, you see this figure come leaping from behind these rocks. This massive saber-toothed tiger, like literally lunges, leaps over this rock. And then you see that someone's riding it. And you instantly recognize the rider as Valenthi. Valenthi, you have caught up with the rest of the group.
Where did this tiger come from?
But I need to get your token out here. There we go.
There we go.
All right. Now you should have control of it. You guys see this tiger kind of slow to a steady gait, huffing, growling a bit. And then it kind of like falls down to the ground. You hear the sound of bones popping. You hear the sound of like blood curdling, squeezing through small veins at a high rate of pressure. And you see it start to shrink down. The skin starts to fold in on itself. Eventually, Luna is left naked. Well, not naked. She's actually wearing a long coat now. But she's kneeling down in the snow. And then she looks up at all of you, and she looks completely tired, like worn out, big circles under her eyes. Her hair is all matted down with sweat. But then she grins at all of you. And she's like, hey.
You could do that the whole time?
Well, I mean, yeah. I didn't really think about it. Valenthi gave me the idea.
That's the most incredible thing I've seen.
And then she just kind of stands up, and then she kind of stumbles and falls down again. It seems like she doesn't have a whole lot of strength right now. Oh, yeah, Booker. Yes, it's actually a battle axe, Booker. And if anyone's going to take his longbow or knife, just he has a longbow and 20 arrows, and it's a knife.
I mean, Booker's going to take the knife, but he's going to offer like the bow and the arrows to someone else.
And Valenthi just arrives as trying to figure out what's going on in this scene.
By the time Valenthi gets here, the only thing that is left is there's a big orc standing there. Basically, it looks like he has surrendered to them, and there's a dead goblin, a decapitated goblin on the ground. And Booker and Kerrigan are basically taking the goblin or the orc stuff. Kerrigan has taken off his winter coat and handed it to Booker, and Booker's taking his weapons. And he's just standing there, like letting it happen. He's not resisting.
Valenthi will help Luna try to walk her over, I guess, as well. And Zen ask,
what is going on here?
I feel like we should be asking you the same thing. What is going on here? How are you here?
And then she will look over at the coat because currently she split the difference between Luna and herself. So she just kind of has long hair right now. But she's going to look around at coat that people are caring about.
I think Booker will hand you the coat that Brodin had given him.
She says, thank you. Much appreciated.
And she will quickly put that on and say,
there's a long story, but I found out what Tika truly was. So now I'm here. What happened here? A battle?
That would have been less uneasy, if you ask me. Hector might know more.
Kerrigan runs up to Valenthi and is like, are you okay? Why did you leave?
And she says, "It's okay. I'm very well. Thank you. Everything's fine. I just have to head to the fort now."
You see this look of relief on Kerrigan's face. She's like, "Really? Seriously?" And then she just like throws her arms around Valenthy in like a hug. And you can see this just like look of relief on her face, like very relieved that you're not still sick.
Delancey will, well, she will kiss her on the cheek, and then she says,
"I'm fine. Everything's good now."
You guys see Luna just sits on a rock, and she has a big goofy grin on her face. Her hair all now frozen. It was wet with sweat, but now it's frozen solid on her head. Sweat all froze.
Aileen would bring Eos over actually, and she's like, "You look very tired. Why don't you get on the horse and like offer a hand down to pull her up?"
She's gonna climb up there with you.
And she'll look, Valanthi will look over at Luna and it's like, "Why are we taking things from this orc?"
and looks back at Booker.
Well, I needed a weapon, and well, I'm guessing it's part of the orc culture here, since he's a raider.
Kerrigan's gonna say he is a raider. She's like, he doesn't deserve weapons or a coat. He's lucky if he's left alive.
In that case, since Luna is missing some clothing, perhaps we can borrow his pants and give it to Luna.
In that case, I will take the pants and give back the pants that she gave me. They're a little snug. And he's going to quickly take off the pants and take off the pants from the orc.
So the orc is standing there literally in just like a little white loincloth, basically. And he's starting to like shiver, and he kind of puts his arms around himself. Valenthy, you can't tell if he's shivering more from the cold or from, he seems to be very scared, like terrified. I mean, you don't know what happened, but he seems to be quite terrified. Terrified enough that he's not resisting anything they do, basically.
I hate orc raiders. They're the ones that came to my home, my world.
And, well, she'll also be eyeing the bow. If you are going to give that one there, she will be very interested in the bow and arrows.
Oh yeah, he will give them. Though at the mention of orc raiders, well, he might look a little bit awkward at the mention of that.
Yeah.
like a side eye.
Aileen will just say something to the effect of like, "What does it matter? Raiders are raiders, orc or not an orc. Take whatever you want from him."
Valenthy would just grab the
It is a longbow with 20 arrows, but you
bow and
notice
arrows, and
when you take it,
not really
it is
understanding
not
what
like
else.
Sorry, go ahead.
Sweet. Oh no, I just say sweet, awesome.
But when you look at the bow, you realize it is not. And Booker, you realize the same thing about the axe. These are not like, primitive crafted weapons. Like everything Kerrigan was carrying was like a primitive crafted weapon. This is like a finely crafted bow, finely crafted arrows. The axe was not a primitive axe. It was forged in a forge. Like, you have a feeling that these raiders got maybe traded or sold these weapons by someone else. These do not look like weapons that these raiders made themselves.
Also, quick question about the axe. What kind of axe is it? Is it like a battle axe?
It is a battle axe, yes.
Okay, great.
It has no markings on it, but it is finely made. And the longbow is the same way. There's like no markings or brand or anything, but it just looks very finely made and relatively new, actually.
And I assume that also goes with a quiver then. It has quiver.
There's a quiver and there's 20 arrows.
Excellent.
Yeah,
and he also has whoever took his pants off would have also taken his knife. He had a knife on his belt.
Oh yeah, that would have been Booker.
Then Booker now has a dagger.
Yeah, Booker is going to swing the battle axe a little bit, just testing the balance. And well, I prefer Warhammers, but this is good. I think he's gonna put it on his back.
Kerrigan kind of says, well, did Booker say that in common or in orc?
Yeah, I think since he's thinking out loud, he would have said it in orc.
She would kind of say, I thought only giants use warhammers.
I guess depends on the Warhammer. But I've never had issues using one.
And then Lancy will also look at the Raider Orc and says, "These are very fine weapons. Where can we get more?"
I traded at the fort. They trade goods. That necklace. He points at the necklace Hector has that got taken from the goblin, and he points at the bow, he points at the axe and the knife. He says, they trade us weapons for information, scouting, to leave their troops alone, not bother their trade caravans. Raid only north, not south.
Is this in common?
Yeah.
So if you
very
trade with
rough
information, what information can you give us of the fort? Who all is there? Which people? Describe the people there.
There are humans. There are some elves. There are not very many orcs. Sometimes a dwarf or two. It is a outpost to protect tall wooden walls. Soldiers man the walls. An army, maybe 50 strong.
Who is the commander?
The commander is a Captain Nylos. Captain Nylos is a human.
Is there a wagon? Made of metal cages. You would hear animal noises.
Well, there are many wagons that come from the south. Their flag they fly. The flag, it has red with a black X is their banner. Some Southlander banner.
This one would have particular animal noises, creature noises.
They have many horses, mules sometimes, and oxen.
Excellent. So all these people are coming from the south. Who leads them here from the south?
They come to trade, to look for gold. They sell land, but it's dangerous to settle.
And
And he
Willanta
kind of like
looks over.
looks around sheepishly, and he's like, "Raiders make dangerous."
Willanta looks over at Kerrigan. It might be safer for you now to go to the fort if these orcs can get in.
She nods. She's like, "Except for, unlike them, I'm not a filthy raider who's going to take Southlander gold."
And she says, "Indeed. But it's enough to get us in for now and figure out their true intentions there. And I have to find a cart."
He would say there are many carts at the fort. They get pulled by oxen and horses and mules. It is muddy, a muddy place. Smelly. Smells of animal feces.
More particularly a wagon. All right. Well, thank you for the information and the bow. I will make good use of it.
Wait, what nation do they serve, this army?
It is a red flag with a black X.
There's no There's no name to this.
Do not
Army?
know the name.
Is
They
this
say they are from Vera, Verara, Velila, Var, Verera.
Valera.
I do not. Maybe that. This is what they tell me.
Valera, is that the southern continent? The one that Vera comes from?
You would hear. Let me think.
Or Vira? Not Vera. Keep calling her Vera.
So you would have definitely heard that south there is a continent called Velara for sure. You would have heard that. It's possible that that's what this orc is referencing for sure. He seems to not remember exactly what to say. He does not have much knowledge of the south of orcs. Now, Faylene, while you're standing here, roll me a quick perception check.
That's a 15.
So often, you're looking at this orc, right? You're mounted on Eos, but you kind of look off in the distance. And there's like a horizon, white snow, black rock, and there's a little bit of a mountainous region stretching out before you guys, like south. But as you look at that mountain range, you see large movement along the mountain range, like something large, kind of crouching down behind the mountain range. It almost looks like white scales in a ridged back. Very large. I mean, very large. Maybe the size of an elephant or maybe bigger. It's hard to tell because it seemed to duck below the horizon before you could get a good look at it.
Would this be enough for her to connect it to that vision that she had previously had?
Definitely. It looked very familiar to her.
She would shrink down onto Eos and sort of clutch his mane in her hands, and very lowly she's like, "No, that isn't that. It is impossible, but I think, and she just is stumbling over her words over and over. She looks very afraid. She's like, I think there is a dragon over there.
As she's looking down at her hands, she actually sees, if she's looking down, you actually look and you realize that your hands, they have white skin, claws on the end.
What is happening?
And then almost as soon as you realize that, suddenly you blink, and then your hands look normal again. And you're like, for a minute, it's almost like, wait a minute, was that a trick of my mind, or what's going on? Anyway, that's just something that Faylene sees.
Yeah, she's going to look up and see if she can still see it over there.
No, you look over at the horizon, and everything looks normal. Nothing out of the ordinary.
She'll turn to Luna. She's like, did you see that?
Luna looks at you, her eyes are all droopy, her hair is all matted down and frozen, and she's like, what?
Never mind, you didn't see anything. And she'll just clutch very tightly to Eos's mane.
She's like, are you talking about that orc?
No, don't worry about it. I'm sure it's just a strange trick of the light.
Oh, she leans against your back and starts to fall asleep.
Yes, you rest. You look worn out, but I am very impressed by you.
And Delancey would be looking around at this time and say,
"Hey, soul."
The light. We believe it came back again to take him up wherever it takes us.
Lumina would walk up to you when you say that, and he would tug on your belt, and then he would point up at the sky.
As I see. Unfortunate.
And where'd your cabin mate go?
Wait, who's that? Where'd what?
Where did your mate from the cavern go?
Are you asking Luminode that?
Or
No, I'm asking Valenti.
Oh, sorry.
no, you're talking
Talking about Broden.
Broden, yeah.
And I suppose he
Oh, sorry.
was taken up at the same time that Soul was. The lights also took him.
It's such a strange world.
Faylene, you hear like Luna's half asleep, leaning against your back, and she hears this conversation, and she's like, just like being born. She kind of is half asleep when she says it.
What a strange thing to say. Helene will just sort of like check to make sure, like, kind of like make sure her arms are sort of around Luna's arms are around Baylene's waist and that she's got like a hold of them.
By the time she gets to that point, she hears Luna snoring. It really seems to take it out of her, being another form, changing forms.
Valancy looks over at the horse at the same time too. It's like,
I see we have another animal companion as well. It says, well, if I say heading to the fort, that's where I'm heading now, so I need to finish something. I promise.
Well,
and Valancy will just start walking that way and look over at Kerrigan and say,
Is there any other areas to rest? I may be feeling better, but I do still need rest later on.
Kerrigan's going to say, at the rate we've been going, if we keep it up, if we rest tonight, we'll get there close to the end of the day tomorrow, if we keep moving fast like we have been. And there is a place we can sleep for the night. There's a camp not far from here. Well, actually, I would take that back. She wouldn't say not far from here. She would say there's a camp an hour after nightfall. Roughly, we should reach it. It will be a small cave. Hopefully, there's no bear in it, but it should do for tonight. I've stayed there a few times, but we are getting into territory that I've only been in a few times, and this is raider territory. We should be careful.
All right, then. Well, then I suppose we should make haste.
Baleen will look at Valenti and just be like, real quickly. She still looks very shaken, but she kind of wants to forget about what just happened for a while. So she'll look at Valenti and be like, so that's it? What happened to your last promise? You just figured something out and you could go?
Yes, I tried to befriend Tika. I decided that I wanted to help her, and with such, I was able to see her true self. She was an actual different being of sorts, and Tika is just an essence of that being. Her name was Mithrialia. And so she wanted to help the world, the nature, the trees, and some creature that's been captured, or a certain someone that's being kept in one of the wagons, made of metal, caged. I must release it in the fort, help it escape. And she promised to help me with that. And so here I am.
As Valencia is saying this, Faylene, you get this this deep sense of unease, and in your mind's eye you recall that vision. You recall all those trees being burned, and you recall that great form kind of like lurking in the background. And for some reason, when Valenti is talking about this, it just triggers that vision again. And you see all those soldiers with red sashes, wearing black leather armor, wearing red sashes, burning things. And it's almost like to hear Valenthi talk about this, for some reason, it seems to trigger that, like a thought just pops back into your mind for some reason. It's very, very vivid, though. Very vivid.
And you're sure this creature wanted to help the trees?
Well, I'm sure that she wanted to help. And I don't think that if she wanted to destroy the land and nature, she would release a creature that would destroy it.
And she looks over at Kerrigan.
Have you heard of this name before? Mithraelia.
Let me see. Let me make a roll. Has she heard about this? She's going to say no, but there are fey creatures in these lands, and they do hide and they keep to themselves, and we avoid them because they are tricksters and they're dangerous. However, there are those who say stories like you've just told, that they're not all bad. Some of the older folk have even said that they've been helped by the Fae, but that one in particular, I can't say that I know any of their names because our people have made such an effort to not mingle with them. We've always considered them dangerous and unpredictable, but they never went out of their way to hurt us. It's like if we stayed away from their territories, they didn't interfere.
Well, she knew who Vera was. That they used to know each other. And that she turned against, I guess, whatever belief she was, I suppose, persuaded. And so Mithrila seems to stand against her, so if she stands against Vira, then I suppose that's some sort of help for us.
Hector's laughing in the background. Classic Fae trick. Pit one against the other. Yes. You do realise that this Mithra, whatever its name is, doesn't matter. It is the worst of all the evils in play here. Tika has tricked you into letting loose the evil Fae. Probably the Archfey even. Why do you think it's covered and out of sight and no one can hear it?
As he says,
You've been tricked royally.
well, that responsibility supposedly falls on me then. Either way, we have to go to the fort in order to figure things out.
And Valenthi will continue to walk.
Luminode walks up to you, Booker, and holds up both of its hands to you, as if expectantly waiting for you to pick it up.
Yeah, Booker is going to let out a short little chuckle and just gonna reach for his hand for Lumino to climb up.
He climbs up on your shoulders, and you notice that he's kind of gotten into a thing where he kind of sits on one shoulder, and he has a good like riding spot there. And so he just kind of seats himself kind of expectantly and then sits there waiting.
Booker just nods towards him and says, well, keep an eye out. It's been a long time since I've been able to say that.
Lotto, as he walks by Hector, he would kind of look up at you and he's like, I hope it's not my time to go. God. And then he just walks around the decapitated goblin and then he keeps on walking. Are you guys going to all kind of move out?
Yeah.
I should ask if anyone's not moving.
Faylene will stay in the back And she feels Luna sleeping on her shoulder, and she'll just pat her hands gently. And then she'll wait as if the group is moving out, and just keep like staring at the ridge line where she saw the scales.
She realizes that the group is moving, but Kerrigan actually doesn't. Kerrigan keeps standing there, and she just stands there looking at this orc who's shivering in the cold. And as the group starts to move away, I guess I would ask if anyone is specifically like trying to notice if Kerrigan isn't following or not. Would anyone care
Well,
about that?
Valanthi would see where Kerrigan is because,
Yeah, Valanthi would look around and realize Kerrigan's not following her. And it wouldn't be but just like a couple seconds after people started moving, and Kerrigan would draw her knife and then walk up to the orc and proceed to dispatch him unless anyone's going to stop her.
No, Faline would let her. She's got no tolerance for thieves.
Yeah. Booker would look back, like as if he's trying to like learn how she's behaving. But anyone like but if anyone was like looking closer at Booker himself, he would have a slightly uneasy expression.
She would just take her knife and then just kind of like with one slice she would cut his throat, and then he would like start choking, and she doesn't even watch him bleed out. She just turns around and starts walking away, almost like she doesn't even care about what happens next. She just like she seems to have such disdain for him that she just doesn't even care to watch him bleed out.
Does he look like he's gonna die immediately, or that he's gonna be there for a while?
It looks like he'll probably be there for at least maybe not very long, but a little bit. He'll be there for maybe a minute. He won't last very long.
In that case, Faline would cast maybe like Ice Knife to try to just like end it as quickly as possible.
Yes, that would end it very quickly. You cast Ice Knife, and with a strike and a shatter of ice, his choking would stop, and he would lay motionless.
Valanthi will stop for a while upon seeing that, since she was already kind of far ahead. And
Kerrigan just kind of jumps over the rocks and rejoins you guys, kind of wiping the blood on her pants and then sliding her knife back in its sheath.
Valanthi is kind of taken back from it, the severity of it, but then she doesn't know the stories. But yet that does kind of bother her, just because he was unarmed and nothing. The dynamics of the group is just very interesting to her.
I will say this too. You would all notice that she is walking in such a manner that she doesn't seem to think anyone would think it's a big deal. She's not like trying to hide it or be sheepish about it or anything.
Valanthi isn't going to say anything, but she's pretty bothered by that. She didn't mean for him to die there. He figured that he would survive, but that kind of throws her off a little bit, and she will keep walking silently forward.
All right. So at this point, it's coming up on 10. One final scene with everybody. Let's skip to the point where you guys make camp for the night, and then we'll just do a quick final scene with everybody, and then we'll be done. I'm gonna grab the scene here. You will have seen this scene probably, but it is not the same place. This is not the scene you've seen before. I'm going to get rid of these real quick. We're going to put our new ones here. There we go. Now, by the time nightfall arrives, and a little after it, you enter a very small, sort of like forested region. There's like you were riding through open, barren land, but there was like a round, like a half-mile swath of forest, kind of just in the middle of nowhere. And then Kerrigan would have led you here. And upon entering, you would have realized that there's like basically right here, there's like a small cave, quite small, really. Not big enough for the horses to be in. And in fact, you guys looking at it realize, man, there might not be enough room for all of us in there if Lotto's going to be in there. Like it's pretty small. But she would say, we can light a fire, we can sleep in shifts, keep watch.
Well, at the mention of that, Booker would offer to take the first watch.
So as you guys are setting up camp, let's wrap it up with one more round of role play for everyone. So let's see, who wants to go first?
Well, Hector will jump in first.
All right, let's go ahead. Hector, what is Hector doing to finish up the session, getting ready for camp?
In spite of all the bravado and show put on, Hector is quietly chuffed with himself and quite pleased. And he, after dismounting Blinky, he walks up to Lotto and says, I think it's time for some of your world-famous venison.
Oh, he like slaps his hands together and rubs them together. And he's like, I think that some of this evergreen could be crushed up and used as seasoning. He's going to run over here. You see him going to fish out some pine cones from the trees. There's a little lightness in his step at the ring of the dinner bell. And as you see him run over there and start to get stuff, you kind of realize that Lotto's looking a little leaner. You think he's lost some weight out here in the Barren Lands.
How many rations would he take?
Well, he's been eating, but you have a feeling, that he hasn't been probably eating quite as much as he did before he got here.
Oh, I meant Fayleen's got the deer rations, so she'll hand over however many he asks for.
Oh, he'll basically cook one for each person. So it'll be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, 7. Oh, this skips to me.
Fayleen will look up and say, we only have 3 portions of deer left.
Oh.
As she hands over the 7.
He starts to build a fire. But anyway, go ahead, Hector. He's just doing his cooking thing.
Hector would then go looking for Valenti.
Valenti, would Hector be able to find you pretty easily?
Valenti, yeah, she's gonna by herself right now. She went up to this little hilltop to be alone, thinking, because she's kind of just went quiet after seeing what she saw anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, Hector would, if he saw her or if he didn't, he'd reach out with his telepathic mind and just implant the one question in Valenti's mind. What's the cost?
Valanthi
find Lotto and join in the cooking and waiting for the fresh food.
Yeah, Valanthi is up here in her rock right now.
Let's go to Valenti next. What is Valenti going to do to end out the session? Is there anything she would like to do?
Yeah, she's looking at Kerrigan. What is Kerrigan doing currently?
Well, Kerrigan, I don't want to monopolize your end scene, but if you would be interested, Kerrigan would probably make her way over to where you're sitting and kind of jump up on the rock, sit down beside you.
Yeah, I think before she did that, she would probably. Oh my gosh! Oh no! taking Luna and Faline
Did I do that?
and Eos. No. Before she did that, Valanthi would actually find where Faline is currently.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Faline, where would you be at this point?
Faylene would immediately start doing like the practical things that need to be done around the camp. So she'd shake Luna up and get her up and try to convince her to go build that fire pit like she taught her before and make
Luna
herself useful.
Lay down by it and go to sleep as Lotto does it.
All right. And then like as soon as Lotto's digging the pit, she'd try to find some like dead grasses and Druid craft them up to make sure the horses get a treat after all they've done for them today.
Oh, if you're doing that, the horses would gather around and start munching on it. Actually.
Yeah, she'll start growing the grass up for them. And so that's generally what she's doing, is just overseeing all the preparations to get camp ready for the night.
Yeah, so Valanthi would probably go over to Faline before Kerrigan could arrive there.
Yeah, go
and she would go over and it's like,
I wish to talk to you, if you have time, privately.
Yes, She looks surprised. I'm like, I'm surprised, but sure. And she'll give Ao and a little Ao's pet as she walks past and follow you.
And she'll say, I don't understand this group. It's savage at times. I've tried to help it, but it seems that no one trusts each other, or either they're angry at each other, or they just kill things without thought. I understand that my anger for what happened to my parents. They were murdered by humans, orcs, and giants, but I at least try to figure out if things are evil or not before anything is taken into action. The elves that I learned life from in my particular area, the great elven cities are gone far, far off into the distance. We lived in a more isolated area. Elves were a little bit cruel, different. They had to learn to survive. You're the only other elf that I've seen outside of that land. I'm trying to understand. Is the world like this everywhere? Does everybody just kill? I've only ever tried to shoot at the things that I knew were going to harm us.
Faylene looks sympathetic, actually, and she says, that must be very difficult to feel that way. Truthfully, I do not know much of civilization myself, but I know what roads and wilderness and tribes are like. Sometimes people kill not out of anger or cruelty. Killing can be done in a way where it is more merciful. I did not let that man bleed in the snow because he would freeze by himself alone in a place like this, and it would be a cruel and painful death than dispatching him at once.
I would think they would know the area far better than we do. Kerrigan, I don't understand what feelings I've had for her. I do care for her. I wish to learn more. But when she outright killed that orc, defenseless, without weapons, we took everything. That was different.
I do not know Kerrigan as well as you, but my guess she comes from a clan, and in the clan, when you do not have other resources other than those around you, including the people, when someone steals or lies, they themselves become a threat to the group. And even though I do not agree with the way Kerrigan did it, I do not think it was out of anger, but out of a protectiveness for us. If somebody stole from our clan, we would kill them too. And we would say that we had failed that man in order to provoke them to steal. Thieves are made, not born. But once they are made, they cannot be allowed to take from the rest.
Valentia at that time would just look down and she's like,
This is reasons why I stayed away from civilization. Murder. Killings. All this. Everywhere. And now I've been brought right into it. I've tried my best to keep this group, but I don't understand Hector either. He doesn't seem to have that empathy either. I know he's intelligent, but he believes this way is always going to be correct, I suppose. Soul is not here. I could find some sort of empathy with Soul, but he's not here now.
I think you would find in many ways, forgive me for saying so, but I do not think Soul and Hector are so different. Hector is difficult to understand and can also seem, well, as you said, arrogant. He does not always listen, but neither does Soul. And Soul tells himself that it is right. Of the two, I am not sure, honestly, who is more destructive to a group.
I fear that Soul at least has some intentions, but I've seen both types of people, like Hector and like Soul. In the end outcome, they are opposites, but unfortunately one could serve only themselves, while the other one believes they're serving the rest of the people. I myself just wish to help. I could not leave everyone there helpless in the cold when we first arrived here, but now sometimes I have second thoughts. But yet at the same time, I did not wish to lead either.
she looks over at her eyes, locking gazes with Faylene. She says,
I just simply went where I thought was best. At first, people followed. But now, I've learned something new. There's a bond that I didn't wish to have, but somehow, that bond was created with you all, despite how strange everything can be in this group. So I'll do my best to help everyone, but I suppose everybody has their own paths. I just don't understand this killing all the time. But I guess it's a necessity.
as she starts kind of walking away toward Kerrigan. But,
Faylene would reach out and grab your arm if she can.
Yeah.
And she would say, I'm glad you said this to me. It helps me understand you better. I see that you want to help. I believe you when you say that. If you don't understand, then I think that is where to start. Begin with speaking to them, asking them, what is it they want? How can you help them? Don't make choices for them. Lead from behind and not from the front. You are a leader whether you want to be or not.
Sis, I do not wish to be a leader, but it seems that I headstrong and feel I know where I would go. But I suppose right now I am in this group, this new bond that I don't understand. I will take your advice. I will do my best. Hector has been the one that really gets under my nerves. That man right there.
But she looks back and says,
Thank you. You're the only other elf I've seen in some time. And it's strange that I've gained emotions for an orc, even though in my world they're the ones who murdered my family. What a strange fate we are in.
Indeed. There's much I do not understand. And I will say, I don't know what you intend to do in the fort, and truth be told, I'm very scared. I've never been in a building before. No one here knows that. But if you...
At that mention, Valenci actually looks toward you and says, with a little bit of a relief, and says,
I am actually pretty scared. I've never been inside a village since I've lived by myself. I have a fear. I tried it once and I froze for quite some time. I don't know what will happen now, but I'm hoping that fear doesn't rise. It's like being pressed down by so many eyes or gazes or emotions. I couldn't move.
That sounds terrible. Well, then we will have to be each other's river when we are two fish out of water.
and with that, Valenci will smile. First time you ever seen her smile, and she'll she'll say,
thank you.
and then she will.
If you excuse me, I will try to understand Kerrigan next.
I think that'd be a good thing to do.
And then she'll finish with that, and then just finish going to Kerrigan.
All right, now the next thing I'd like to go to is to Booker. Booker is sitting at the campfire, and describe what you're doing, Booker, as this is going, as Valenthi kind of walks by, and people are doing stuff. Describe what you're doing.
Yeah. Booker took a chance to sit right next to the campsite. Just sits cross-legged, and he takes out the war axe. And before setting it out on the ground, he takes a nearby rock and just heats it up and uses it to melt down the snow before putting the axe on the ground. And then he starts making... He arranges some rocks around, and he starts making some gestures, and some gestures after a few minutes, he summons around the axe some a mix of dark red sparks and swirls of volcanic ash swirl around the axe as he starts working on the axe. And after a while, the ashes that are swirling around the axe start also swirling around his arms as he's creating a bond with the axe. He seems to be extremely focused, and he is going to be at it for an hour.
As Lotto is cooking the venison, he's looking across at this, and you kind of see his eyes narrow, and he's just watching intently. Luminode is sitting right by you, actually watching intently. And Luminode goes from watching the axe to then looking up at you, and then it'll stare at you for several seconds, then look at the axe for several seconds, and just sits there. All right. Now, at that point, I would actually like to leave that at a good place to close out the session, unless everyone votes that they would like for Valenthi to have her conversation with Kerrigan, or we could save that for the next session.
I'm fine if they have their conversation. Faylene would just, when she's done talking, go sit down and start finishing off the sanding that needs to be done on the quarterstaff she's been making.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Is everyone else okay with that, or should we save it for next time? I don't want to run us too late. We're at 10:15.
I'm okay with it.
You okay with it? Okay. All right. Let's do that then, and we'll have the session end on that.
Yeah. Well, where is Kerrigan there in the group?
So Kerrigan, we're going to say that she was at the fire, but we're going to say that she had walked over here and jumped up on this rock because that's where you were sitting, And then
Yeah.
it seems like maybe she was waiting for you to come back. And as you start to come back, she's like, she kind of perks up and she's like, hey.
And Yolanthe will walk up, and usually she has that relaxed face around her, but she's comes over and just sits quietly next to her, maybe her feet over the edge, looking down, silent
Kerrigan
for a
notices.
while.
No, Kerrigan doesn't notice. She's just sitting there.
And she'll say,
Hey, I talked to Faylene.
and she looks over at Kerrigan.
I'm not going to say that I understand the workings of all people. I'm trying to understand it. I want to help your people. I want to help this group. And I've talked to beings that I never thought I would be able to talk to. Priorner, the great bear, and now this Fae, powerful Fae. That was Tika's essence, I suppose, or Tika was an essence of her. I have killed creatures. I've killed enemies, but I've never tried to kill in a sense, well, one of them were defenseless, or if I knew that there was no danger. But maybe there was danger was that orc. In my world, orcs, humans, and giants, they killed my parents. But at knowing that I was in a different world, I learned to have a bond with you. I'm very interested in you. I wish to know who you are. But at the same time, I noticed that the group, as I told Faylene, can be rather aggressive. Killing. I just wish to know why. What it was. That man, Orc, was defenseless. And yet you put him down. I wish to understand that.
She's going to kind of look at you, kind of surprised. And she's like, you mean that raider? He was a raider. She's like, he was, not only was he a raider, he was traveling with goblins. He was preparing to raid us. He had no worth. No reason to be alive. She's like,
Yolanthe looks down.
I did a service. I did a service to my people and to his. In the afterlife, his parents, his bloodline will be happy that he did not live out the rest of his days with such a miserable existence. There's no clan, no tribe. She says, turning against his own. There are 2 orcs amongst us. They were going to raid us anyway.
She looks over and she says, I notice and I hear that usually whatever we are titled is what creates value. Let me ask you, if your brother saw us and he kills Southerners, would just be a title to him if I would be found by your clan and they were to kill me? Would they think I had no worth?
My brother would try to kill you, but he's not a raider. He's the leader of a clan. He's the leader of our family, but he would kill you because elves have a reputation for being destroyers here in this land. I know that you're not. I know you better than that. But my brother wouldn't even stop to ask. She just kind of like looks down.
That's what I mean. I suppose I'm the only one that's different that would stop to ask. Even though people may walk a path of, I suppose, evil, as that raider did, defenseless and such. I know of human cities back in my world where laws uphold justice, and these people are brought to justice for a proper punishment. And, well, I guess I am different in that sense. I will attack those who have weapons, but those that I see defenseless and just without weapons. We just have different cultures, you and I. And I am trying to understand, and I hope you understand my perspective as well. Though we are different in that life that we came from.
She's going to kind of look at you and she's going to say, "You are different." She says, "You speak of justice, but here, justice is just a fairy tale. There's no such thing." She says, "But you speak of it like it's a real thing that you can touch, that you could make real if you tried hard enough. That's what's different about you."
She says, "Would that make you happy if we brought justice here?"
She says, "Of course it would. But it can't survive here."
I believe it can survive so long as the people who live within the land give it life. But it has to start with small things. A small change, a ripple in the lake of life that can spread through all the oceans. And, well, even though you might not believe that it can, I'm going to fight for it. I used to live by myself in order to stay away from it, but I see now that perhaps I was wrong. I should have been part of the world. Perhaps that's why the gods sent me here. To learn and to bring a sort of justice back into the world. A little bit of light from the darkness that we all think is engulfing us. We have to learn to fight back, I suppose. And that's what I'll do. Even though this is not my home, we should do it everywhere.
You see a little smile kind of come on Kerrigan's lips, like almost like a mischievous smile. She says, "Are we going to fight the darkness with justice?" And she kind of sits up straight, like in a very, like kind of in a sarcastically proper manner.
And Valancy just
nods. She says, "Yes, fighting in the darkness for justice, to bring a little bit of light."
And then she'll just put a hand over her cheek.
I hope I can make you realize that it can happen, that it can come to fruition.
And with that, she'll just... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, she would just like lay her head on Valenthi's shoulder, and she's like, "I believe you. I believe you'll show me."
Valency would just hug her and give her a kiss on the cheek and just stare into the night.
All right. And then Hector had a question or two regarding Luna. Is that something you want to role play out, or do you have just a question? Yeah, go for it.
Eileen.
Yes.
Now that you've seen the value of magic and how it has many uses, including Luna turning into a great saber-toothed tiger and transporting Valenti here safely. Valenti must trust Luna to be able to control her magic as well. Maybe you should start to trust her.
I would trust her.
Trust in the magic, let's say.
I trust in magic if it comes from her. She shouldn't have to take it from somebody who treats her badly. I believe she could turn into that thing because that is who she is. And that she does that, she's free to use her magic how she wishes. But she should also know her value does not depend on her ability to use magic. She has more to offer. Magic doesn't solve everything.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, it doesn't. We both know that belief solves a lot more than magic. But sometimes magic can help us solve things that we can't identify, perhaps.
That is true. I did wonder if you could do that, actually. Use your
Guessing that was
magic.
for Luna.
Well,
I can't identify things, but I know Luna can.
I just want her to find it from somewhere else, from that not that terrible person she was speaking of. If she can do that, then yes, I will give whatever to Luna to identify.
Fantastic. It's such a wonderful tool to have at our disposal as a group, to know what things we may pick up along the road.
I'm surprised, Hector, that you've not called out my own use of magic. I know it has not escaped your notice.
No, I'm letting you get comfortable with it. I can see you playing with the idea. I think there's something below the skin just waiting to come out. And when it does, it will be magnificent.
Now, with that, that is actually a very apt line to end on, because fast, quick little cutscene. Somewhere in the middle of a fort with torches around, there's a covered wagon, and it shakes. And as it shakes, you can hear the cage bars rattling underneath, and then a mournful howling screech that sounds like actually something combining pure savagery with complete sadness and hopelessness erupts from the wagon. The soldiers nearby retreat. Stay away from it. Don't get too close when it's like this. But the wagon just shakes as whatever is inside calls out and screeches, and yet its cries go unanswered. And that will be where we will end for the session. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for episode 11.
Thank you.
We will be back.
Shout out to Sad and Admiral. Hope you get well soon, guys.
Yeah.
Yes. And all the players get a heroic inspiration because everyone role played incredible tonight. Thank you all the players. And with that, we're going to end it out. We'll be back next Tuesday. Thank you, everyone. All right.